I am very excited today, and that is because we are going to do 6 games of my favorite composition in set 8.5, and that is going to be Anima Squad. And you might be wondering, why is this comp my favorite comp? Well, the Anima Squad trait has bunny ears in it, and obviously, since my name is BunnyMuffins, it has to be my favorite. So if you ever wanted to play one team composition to rank up, this is going to be the video for you. The same principles could apply to other team compositions, but for this one, we're going to focus on just the Anima Squad, and we're going to be playing 6 games, 1 at every rating, so 1 in Iron, Bronze, Silver, Gold, all the way up to Diamond, and we're going to be reviewing them. And some of these games are going to be forcing Anima Squad. Some of the games will be, hey, like we're just playing normal and then like we get a good Anima start. So you'll see the big differences between the two, because I always recommend not to force team compositions and only to go for them if you get a good start for them. So you'll see the big differences between the games where I get a great start for them and the games where I'm just forcing the comp no matter what. But one thing to keep in mind is that you could just force one comp and get to pretty much whatever rank you desire. It's not really going to be the thing that's stopping you. Let's start off with game number 1 though. This is going to be the Iron game, and I will say this time I definitely was forcing the comp. So we're going to buy the Siluses, we're going to drop them in, and those are the only Anima Squad units we have so far. If you are a beginner, this is what the team composition sort of looks like. There are many different versions of it, but you can play 5 Anima Squad, you could play 7 Anima Squad, and you could use different types of carries depending on what augments you get. So on this augment selection, I'm going to just go for Aegis Crown because this is really the only usable augment for Anima Squad. Built different, you can't do obviously, and then Battle Mage just really isn't good for the comp because you don't really have many damage dealing frontliners. So we're going to go for Aegis. You could still use it with Echo. You could use it with Alistair because Alistair gives you Mascot. So you can see already the dangers of forcing a composition. If you get a Prismatic Augment, it's going to be really, really weird to play. Unless, of course, you just get lucky and you get Anima Squad Crown, for example, but that doesn't happen too often. Let's talk about items, though. So for Anima Squad, you obviously want to primarily focus on misfortune items. So what would that entail? Normally, that is going to be ability power items and a mana regeneration item. So Spear of Shojin is probably her best item by far, and then after that you just build any sort of damage item. However, this comp can use a lot of other like weird damage items. For example, Static Shiv is very useful because you will eventually need some sort of magic penetration or magic resist shredding, and that's what Static Shiv gives. The other option is Ionic Spark. You just need one or the other. So you definitely could have built the Static Shiv here. That's the bow plus the tier. You could also build a Gwinsu's Rage Blade. So this is actually an underrated item in Anima Squad, and you could just drop it on your Vayne because Vayne is going to support you until you get a level 2 Misfortune, which could take a while. Sometimes in a lot of Anima Squad games, you don't end up getting Misfortune 2-star until stage 5. A lot of people think you hit your 2-star 4-cost units on stage 4 at level 7, and sometimes that does happen. I'm not saying it never happens, but you shouldn't be relying on that. It's kind of like relying that you'll like get your like dream job or whatever right away out of college. And sometimes like it takes like 1 or 2 years in like a different industry or maybe like a junior role before you get like your dream job or whatever. But I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but you shouldn't be banking on it. You know, you should always be prepared for worst case scenarios. And like worst case scenario, you get Misfortune 2-star in stage 5 at level 8. Sometimes you could never get it, but you know, it is what it is. Essentially, what I'm trying to say is that Rage Blade, pretty good item on Vayne, and since she's a 3-cost unit, she could end up like really helping your team a lot in the middle part of the game. Like stage 3, stage 4, she's going to be very good to sort of like what's called stabilize your board. Stabilize just means like preserving your HP, being relatively healthy, and then like kind of waiting until you get to a more powerful part of the game later on. So you could have built the Rage Blade, you could have built the Static Shiv with any of these items here. You could have even built the Archangel Staff. The 3 items we got, Tier, Rod, and Bow, are all very, very powerful for us. However, you may be wondering, why did I not build items? So it's a tiny bit more advanced. I generally only build items if I can win streak in stage 2, or if it has a meaningful way to kind of preserve my health total. If not, I'd rather wait for perfect items. And this particular game, I thought that this was one of those situations where it is better to greed for perfect items. Sometimes it's not even greeding though. Sometimes you just want to wait and see what happens. So in this case, we end up building the Static Shiv anyways, and we still have a great setup to get Misfortune items later on with the Tier and the Rod. So let's say we built the Static Shiv early on in like right as the game started. The risk when you do that is you sometimes don't get another tier for your misfortune later on. So since we took the other tier on Carousel, we could say something like, hey, we still have the extra tier to build a Spear of Shojin later on, so we're safe to build the Static Shiv without having any regret. Because sometimes you build an item just because it's like one of those generic good early game items like Static Shiv, and then you just never get another tier for the rest of your game, and then you're like, hey, maybe I should have saved it and maybe get my magic resist penetration through an Ionic Spark, for example, or by running Morgana. Morgana also kind of helps there. But now that we have the extra tier, we don't really have to worry about that. And again, this setup for items is very, very nice right now. Now, another thing you may be wondering is, what about Anima Squad stacking? So the way the Anima Squad trait works is whenever one of those units kills a unit, you get a stack, and it gives your Anima Squad units more health. So it's generally best to start out the game at stage 2-1 with Anima Squad trait already active. And this game, we did not have that. We were 2 out of 3 Anima Squad for most of the stage, and we really only got the 3rd Anima Squad like pretty recently. So we did miss out on a couple of stacks. And some people may be wondering, like, what's the latest I should be going for Anima Squad? And probably like around early stage 3 is the absolute latest, but you generally want to commit to the comp very, very early, which kind of makes forcing it a little bit strange because sometimes you just don't get the right start for it and you just can never start stacking, in which case you probably have to pivot off. But then other games, when you force it from the start, you get like a couple of stacks, even if you don't win every round, and then you just become very, very powerful. I'd say if you're below gold, if you do end up getting an Anima Squad start, such as having 3 Anima Squad on stage 2-1, definitely feel free to just tunnel in on that comp and force it for the rest of the game. So we did get the Spear of Shojin that we wanted. We have a tier and a sword, so we'll probably end up building that. This chain vest could be built for a defensive item later on, and then we're just going to play a random hodgepodge of units until we finally get a good team setup. Pretty much like we want to be playing 5 Anima Squad, but that doesn't happen every game, and this is one of those examples. So what do you do instead? You just look at your traits. So right now we're playing Jinx, Nasus, and Sylas, and then you just kind of mix and match synergies that could kind of fit with them. So we had the Alistar from the start, so we also need him because we have the Aegis Crown, so we have to play him. Nasus is also a mascot, so that they kind of synergize together. And then after that, you look on the left, what traits could we put in? We could have put in Ox-Force or Prankster. So we just drop in the Fiora, and they'll just settle just fine there. Fiora also has a combined benefit for when we get Vayne. She gives Duelist to our team, so that would be pretty cool too. And I did make a mistake here. Some people may have noticed this, and I sold Gnar by accident. Gnar is good for Prankster, so you could also play him instead of some of the other units that we just mentioned. So let's go on into stage 3-2. We're going to be doing our augments selection, and then here is when you know something goofy is about to happen because we have Prismatic and then Prismatic. So fun fact, if you get double Prismatic, the 3rd augment on stage 4 is always also going to be a Prismatic. We're going to get a Tome of Traits here because Anima Squad emblem is really good, and this team composition can make great use of other emblems such as Prankster emblem. We could have used Ox-Force even. So we get 1 Anima, 1 Prankster. That is a very, very ideal situation. We could have even gotten 2 Pranksters. That would be really funny, right? I guess that's Riot's way of like making a joke or something like that. So just put the Prankster crown on anyone. I probably should have just dropped it on Sylas. I don't know why I put it on Alistar, but Sylas would have been a little bit better. Maybe my thought process was, since my Sylas has the Redemption and Redemption heals units around him, I didn't want him to pull a prank on me by like jumping across the map after he gets his Prankster procced, and then he won't be like healing any of my teammates anymore. Maybe that was my reasoning. But overall, our team's looking pretty good. I dropped in a Kai'Sa for some reason. Kai'Sa probably was not the best unit to put in. That's when I like really missed the Gnar, because when we sold Gnar, we had a lot of gold. So we should have just held on to him because it wouldn't really have costed much, if anything. And we could have just played him at level 6, because whenever you're in early stage 3, you should always be thinking of what unit you're going to put in next, because you almost always level up to level 6 on stage 3 too. There we get a Riven and another Jinx. That is a very welcome kind of find. So we just drop Jinx in, or drop Riven in, sell this Kai'Sa, and then we have our 5 Anima Squad activated. I'll probably just put it on the Fiora for now. That's another reason why I kind of didn't want the Prankster emblem on my Alistar, because I feel like if we put it on him, it's going to stay on him the entire game. Whereas if we put it on the Sylas or the Fiora, we potentially could sell them, replace them, and then put them on whoever we want to in the late game, such as like one of the legendary units or one of the other 4 cots that we run, as you saw in the picture before, such as like Garen, Echo, things like that. But let's see what's going on here. We're facing someone with level up and new recruits. So level up, it's great for like going up to level 9 really quickly. Sometimes even level 10. New recruit just adds an extra unit. I kind of like the ones we have. We have 3 traits. We have Aegis Crown or Aegis Emblem. We have the Prankster Emblem, and we have the Anima Squad one. All pretty solid because you could make use of all of them. As long as you can make some value from it or get some value from it, it's going to be generally a-okay. So we have a spare rod and a chain, so we could build either a tank item or a item for misfortune. So good items for misfortune probably would be a jeweled gauntlet here from the rod, so that's rod plus glove. But that isn't really an option. We don't really need the ionic spark because we already have static shiv, so we could just build an archangels by grabbing the tier. One other option is grabbing a bow to build the rage blade, as we mentioned before. And then last option could be a sword to build a Hextech Gunblade. Some people like it. I personally don't, but a lot of people swear by Hextech Gunblade. You could have also built a defensive item with the chain. Options would have been like Bramble Vest, maybe a Sunfire Cape, so grabbing a belt or another chain would have done just fine. So we get a Jinx too, which is definitely huge. We build the Archangel Staff, and we are just giga chilling right now. We also have this giant egg. It's going to pop in 2 stages, so we're going to have a ton of gold this game. We're already super rich. We're level 7 on stage 3-5 with 50 gold, and that's because we got a lot of gold from our prismatic augments. And with this giant egg popping out, like we're going to be super rich. So whenever this happens, this doesn't happen often because triple prismatic games are pretty rare, but you probably want to aim more for like leveling up to level 8 and rolling down there. You could probably do it on stage 4-2, which is generally considered pretty early. That is what some people call a fast 8. So I'm sure some of you all have heard that term before. And fast 8 just means getting to level 8 as fast as possible. Contrary to popular belief, it doesn't mean going 8th place as fast as possible. The way to do that would probably be just surrendering on stage 3. Stage 3 is the earliest time you can kind of surrender, which is kind of weird how it works out that way, but that's just how TFT is made. We are facing someone who is going for what looks like maybe some sort of sure shot build. But since we have Jinx 2, we should be able to finish this round out. Even though it looks a little close right now, we do still have the Prankster buff, so we're not in too much danger. Now let's go on into the next stage. We are going to get our big egg, and let's see what we get from that. Nothing too interesting in our shop, and we get some gold. We get a Thieves Gloves. Thieves is pretty good in an Anima Squad comp. The only issue is that we have a lot of emblems, so it's kind of difficult to kind of place all the items on all of our units. But let's go up into level 8 and see what happens. So we get 2 Negatron Cloaks. We have a Chain Vest, so we could build either the Gargoyle Stoneplate or build the Dragon Claw. Both are fine, not too much of a difference between them. And we get the extra Silas, so we could swap items over onto someone. And then I think since we have so much gold, we have 88 gold and we're already level 7. Just wait 1 turn, go level 8, and chill from there. We're facing off against someone who's looking like Star Guardian from the bench, yeah. So there's a Nico, there's a Duelist Kaisa, and we're just going to put the Thieves Gloves on Vayne. There are better units to put it on. We probably could have put it on Riven. I think that would have been ideal. Like, drop the Thieves Glove on Riven and then have one of our random units hold both the Aegis Crown and the Prankster Crown, and I think that would have worked out really well. Let's say we played like a Fiddlesticks or something and just had Fiddle hold both those items as a 1-star. I think that would have been perfectly fine. But since we did not have that, and we already have items on our Riven, we have to put the Thieves Glove on Vayne. So here, high-end shopping is extremely, extremely, extremely good. I don't know why I didn't end up picking it, and the reason why it's extremely good is because we have so much gold. So high-end shopping is only really useful if you have a ton of gold, and we could have just leveled up to 8 and rolled down like 50 gold with level 9 shops. That would have been incredibly good. But for some reason I re-rolled it. I'm honestly not sure why, but we get the second Prankster Crown, which is really good too, you know. And now we get to have 4 Prankster pretty much for free, and once we get Echo, we won't even have to run Gnar anymore, and then we just get like a ton of stuns on people. I actually wonder if you have 4 Prankster activated, if you want to actually just run the 5th Prankster, because you just get so much value from the little target dummy. So we are in Iron, and I just want to point one thing out. This person's using Kale Carry and Item Holder at 0 gold at stage 4-2. There's got to be something you could have found that was better. I'm not trying to flame the player because obviously we are in Iron, but if you ever find yourself doing this, maybe you have to have someone look at your game or just like review what happened in your game and just check out your roll down and see what you like missed from the champion perspective, because there definitely is something much, much better than that to play at this point in the game if you spent a lot of gold. And oh, nice, we got the Echo. So I think Echo is already better than Gnar. I'll just sell the Gnar right now. And then we get a bunch of gold. So we could go to level 9 or we could roll at level 8. I think rolling at level 8 is fine because we don't have too many upgrades on our board. Generally, you only want to go to level 9 if either you have a lot of health and you already have everything upgraded. So in this case, we have a lot of health, so you could still go level 9 and just sacrifice the next 3 rounds. That would have been perfectly fine. We probably would be at around like maybe 50 health on stage 5-2, maybe 40 health on stage 5-2. We go up to level 9 and then we roll down like 60 gold at that point. And that definitely could have been a very viable option. Instead, we go for like a small roll down. I think I should roll down to maybe like 20 here. Just to try to find Misfortune, upgrade Riven 2-star, upgrade maybe like Echo or Garen 2-star. There's a lot of things we could kind of get, maybe a Vayne 2-star. So yeah, I've named like 5 different things there. And whenever you can name a lot of things you could roll for, it's generally good to roll because whenever you are trying to roll, the more units you're going for, the more efficient your gold use is going to be. So you might watch some players who are better than you and you're like, hey, how come they always hit stuff whenever they roll down? It's generally because they have more that they're looking for, so it just seems like they're hitting more often than you. But wow, there is a Misfortune with a tier on this carousel. We actually end up getting this. Holy cow, that's absolutely nuts. Obviously, that's exactly what we want. We have both an item for Misfortune and we get a copy of Misfortune too. So I think right away you should transfer all the items, and then we want to fit Kai'Sa in somehow, probably over the Fiora. And then from here, yeah, just put the Archangels and the Spear of Shojin on Misfortune. The tier's probably going to go on her later. Static Shiv on Kai'Sa is probably good enough. And then who gets this Prankster crown? Maybe the Garen? No, we took Garen out. Maybe just a Sylas or Nasus or something. We could probably just get rid of them later. I actually end up putting it on the Kai'Sa. Not sure if that's correct or not. But maybe just the Sylas would have been good enough. So who are we facing off against now? Actually, on the Kai'Sa, it's fine. It gives her a bit more survivability because we really just want her to live for Static Shiv procs to lower magic resistance. So maybe that's actually better than putting it on one of the frontliners because it guarantees that she stays alive for a little longer, even though like Prankster always makes the movement of your units always a little awkward, but I think overall it's fine. Decisions like those, you shouldn't stress too much about them because they don't really make that big of an impact on the game, in my opinion. You should like use your time during your turns to like focus on other stuff. But then if you do end up having a bunch of extra time, then you could kind of take the time to decide like, hey, who is this item like exactly best on if it's something like a Prankster emblem. There obviously is like a best user of the item and a worse user, but the difference between those two is very minimal because pretty much anyone can use a Prankster emblem. I guess you just wouldn't put it on your primary carry because you would rather them have some sort of damage item. We are facing off, oh wow, this Echo is super tanky by the way, with the Gargoyle Stoneplate and the like built-in taunt that Echo has from his ability. He stacks up that Titan's Resolve very, very quickly. So this makes our team extremely robust, and we have all the Prankster stuff kind of like stunning everyone too. Though I guess in this case, only one of them kind of went off. We do want to find the third Misfortune item here, so we get, let's see, not the best, maybe from here. Okay, we get to do the double Spear of Shojin combo. I think that's one of the best item combos on Misfortune. If you didn't get that, maybe like we could have taken the glove for like a Hand of Justice or something. That would have been perfectly fine. Let's put, yeah, another Gargoyle Stoneplate on the Echo or another Titan's Resolve. I opt to go for the Gargoyle Stoneplate, but I think again, like, it's very, very similar stuff. And again, I'm not leveling up to level 9 yet because we have 1, 2, 3, 4 1-star units on our bench, so we would definitely want to roll. We get the Misfortune too, so maybe now is when you can consider like, hey, let me go ahead and level up. But before that, like, I think a common mistake people make is going to level 9 too often. Obviously, in this game, we have 79 health, so we probably could have just went level 9 anyways, just because we have so much health. But in most other games, you won't have that life total available to you. So again, I think a big mistake that people make is just trying to rush levels instead of rolling on like a lower level to guarantee some upgrades. Now, since we do have the Misfortune 2-star, I think we could level up now, just add in another Aegis if it helps us, or just play like a random good unit. Maybe like an Aatrox, Leona. Leona's decent against some of the matchups, I believe, in this game. If you're ever wondering who Leona is good against, she's really good against like really big tanks. So anyone who plays like brawlers, anyone who plays mech, she could sometimes cheese some kills. The person we're facing now, I believe, is a duelist player, so she doesn't really do too much against duelists, but against other matchups, she definitely has some value. And also, since we have the Aegis anyways, might as well stack them up a little more in case we face some ability power teams. Now that we see an Urgot, however, we should probably just put that in over the Leona just because he's a flat out better unit. I'm also going to sell this Vayne for a new one and then put the Thieves Glove on the Urgot just because he's just like a much better user of that item. Sometimes you run Duelist with Anima Squad if you do have items on your Vayne. You just run like a Nyla, for example. Nyla gives you Star Guardian as well in case you're not running Kaisa or Echo. And since we don't have that, you don't need to itemize your Vayne. But since Urgot's just better overall, that's why we decided to do that this game. We are facing off against a Samira 2-star and an Ashe, so one thing that the other player could improve on is maybe selling the Ashe, moving the items over onto the Samira. Just because Samira is a more expensive unit, she's going to make much better use of these items, especially since she's already 2-star. So the only times you don't want to sell your upgraded unit to put on someone else is if you're putting it on an unupgraded unit. So let's say you had like a Sivir 2-star. Maybe you don't want to sell it and put the items onto Samira. Like sometimes you do, but like there are a lot of cases where you don't, just because if the unit isn't like that pivotal to your comp, it's better just to run the upgrade because in the temporary short term, it's going to be a bit stronger. We get a Fiddlesticks here. Is Fiddlesticks even better than Urgot? I think this is one of the points where we have to decide like, hey, do we want to drop down to 5 Anima Squad? And we could just drop Sylas and Nasus for like pretty much just any 2 legendary units or like a Garen. But here's a player with a lot of tanky units that we kind of saw before where Leona would have been good against. Unfortunately, we took Leona out of our team, but I think Urgot's good enough to kind of just like still be decently solid, and he has better matchups against the other team, and he farms us gold when we have a lot of health. So that's another thing about Urgot. If you do have a lot of health and you're gonna stay alive for like a big portion of the game, very, very useful to put him in to kind of like guarantee those first places. But let's see what we get in our next shop. We get an Echo, a Garen. Yeah, again, maybe we want to buy this Garen and then swap out the Nasus and Sylas. Wait, did I not buy Fiddlesticks last round? That is definitely a mistake for me. So some may be wondering, like, when do I play 7 Anima Squad? When do I play 5 Anima Squad? In general, 7 Anima is really good in the regular late game. But in the super late game, you probably want to drop down to 5. And here's why. Nasus and Sylas, they don't do anything, right? They're both 1-cost units. In the super late game, they're not going to do much. The reason why they're good is because they're cheap. So it gives you a lot of value in like the regular late game, like stage 5, early stage 6. And because of that, you could go to level 9 instead of like buying expensive units to kind of replace them with, such as like Garen 2-star, Echo 2-star, things of that nature. So running them until you have something that's like actually upgraded is very useful to do. However, once you do have like an Urgot 2, Fiddle 2, Aatrox 2, Garen 2, then definitely replace the Sylas and the Nasus for those units because the bonus you get from dropping down from 7 to 5 Anima Squad is definitely well worth it just because the other units are so powerful. Like even now we have 2 2-star Echoes. I probably should just take out the Sylas and the Nasus right now. Maybe play Leona plus Echo over them. Just because like Echo's 4 Prankster anyway, so he's already really solid. And again, the other units just don't really do too much. The person we're facing here is a Laser Core player, but again, like this common mistake, Ashe has 3 items for some reason. Probably should move them onto someone else at this point in the game, just because Ashe is just a 1-cost unit. You just don't want to have her hold all your items because it's just not as effective. We almost did lose this round, but even if we did lose a round, it doesn't make that correct or incorrect, you know? But we do have the top 2 secured. Let's roll down and try to find this Echo 3-star. I think I have gotten Echo 3-star once, and it was in like a tournament game, so that was really cool. But we're 1 off right now. We hit a bunch of other upgrades, but let's keep rolling down all the way to 0. Go a little bit faster, my friend. This is actually me rolling, but I'm just really slow whenever I do it. And we get Misfortune, but I don't think we're able. We get Urgot 2-star. I don't think we're able to get the last Echo, which is a little unfortunate because I think we should win this last round. That's why I'm rolling to 0. In games where you don't know you're going to win the last round, definitely like hoard your gold if you're at 79 health and just like do what's called a slow roll down to 50 gold every single turn. You might hear like the term slow roll a lot, and I'll probably like have another video explaining what that exactly is because I made one in previous sets, but definitely people want it updated. But Pretty much you just roll down to 50 gold every single turn until you hit your desired unit. But again, since the game was about to end, I wanted to hit an Echo 3. Unfortunate that we did not end up doing that. But that is going to be the game in Iron. We do have the triple prismatic game, which was pretty interesting, but let's head on over into Bronze. So we start off with a tier. This game, obviously that's going to be the best one, I think, for Anima Squad, followed by Rod. They just build the most critical items. It's not that the other ones are bad, these are just better, and you could pretty much play it with any sort of item start. So we start off with a Rod and a Chain after that, and then into the augment phase, we are going to pick the Prankster crest because that's the only one that kind of fits. And throughout the entirety of stage 1, you just click on all the Anima Squad units. We only got the Silas there, so that's a little troublesome, but we did get the Jinx from the box, so we just need one more to complete our 3 Anima opener. Again, you always do want to kind of stack up, but it's not completely mandatory. It definitely does help though. And we're going to build the Archangels this time because our items were a lot simpler than last game. In this game, you could only build the Archangels because the other items were either Protector's Vow, which is mainly like a late game item, and also the Locket, which is good in the early game, but not for this team composition. Not to say it never has its uses, but it's rarely built, and you'd much rather use the Rod for other items from your misfortune, such as the Archangels as we have here. A lot of people make the mistake of saying like, oh, the best item for Anima Squad is going to be the Spear of Shojin, and therefore they don't build the Archangels. However, Archangels is one of the better items for Misfortune, and it has the added bonus of giving bonus mana, which helps a ton for Misfortune's first cast. So you're actually doing just fine without saving up for the Spear of Shojin. In fact, 2 Archangels on a Misfortune casts at the same time as a Misfortune with the Spear of Shojin. That's like, I guess, fun fact of the day for Anima Squad. We will be doing like the BunnyMuffins tip of the day at the end of the video, so definitely stay tuned for that. But here we are facing someone with Aegis, and they built the Rage Blade. I like the Rage Blade slam from them. I respect it. I'm not sure what they're going, but I respect people who build items, especially if they're not that popular. So we are able to win this round. We do get some stacks because we got the Nasus for 3 Anima Squad, so we're in a pretty good shape right now. So I know a lot of people are really into the data part of TFT, and that's perfectly fine. I'm a little bit into it too, though not to any extreme degree. However, one pattern that I notice is that the Anima Squad comp gets worse and worse the higher rank you go. That's not to say that no one ever plays Anima Squad. That's not to say that people who are high rank like are afraid of playing it. It just performs a little worse because of the way the stacking works. Because in the early game, against weaker opponents, you're able to get more stacks because you're just playing the same board. You just click on all the Anima Squad units. There's not too much like intensive thinking there, right? So with that in mind, other people, they're making different boards, and if they're weaker, you're going to get more stacks, which helps you throughout the entirety of the game. So that is probably the reason why Anima Squad does really well at lower ratings, and then as it goes up and up and up, it gets slightly worse each rank you move up. So you may notice that a little bit in these games, like you might have some games with less stacks, but of course, like it really just depends on each individual game. It's kind of hard to make judgments on the entire elo when we're just looking at one game at each rank. Going back into the game though, we built the Sunfire Cape, pretty decent early game item. We also have the extra rod, so this could either be an Ionic Spark or like a Jeweled Gauntlet or another Archangel staff. And you may notice I put the rod on the Rammus, not on the Jinx. So you may be wondering why I'm doing that, and the reason why is because of exactly what I just said. It could build 2 potential items, one of them being a tank item, one of them being a damage item. So if I build the Ionic Spark, I don't want to put the rod on my Jinx, right? Because then I can't build the item. But if I put on the Rammus, I could build the Ionic on him, and if I get something that's usable for Jinx, like a pure damage item, I could always sell the Rammus because he's not critical to our team composition, and then move the item over onto Jinx later on. Speaking of Jinx, we do get another copy of her, which is very, very welcome. So we are on stage 2-6 now. We are on a 4-game winner, so hopefully we do win the 5th one. We do want to slam this rod on somebody now. And since we have the replacement Rammus, or we had to sell Rammus to fit in the other Jinx, in order to stay at 31 gold or above 30 gold, and we couldn't really sell anything else. Now is the time where you like could put the rod on Jinx, but looking back on it, I probably should have dropped it onto Pantheon instead of the Jinx, but hopefully it doesn't affect our game, you know, like sometimes you make a change and then like it actually matters, and then other games it just doesn't matter. We still have 2 of the pranksters, or like 1 of the pranksters left, so we should be able to finish off this vein. Is this other person going Anima Squad too? Or maybe it looks like more so a duelist maybe flexing between the two, and then we'll find out for sure later on. But being contested Anima Squad, it's perfectly fine. Obviously, it's not ideal. You never want to be contested playing any comp, but it's perfectly okay. It's not anything to kind of worry about. So we get a chain vest, which is kind of bad, to be honest, and we sold up to 50 gold. We benched our Pantheon in order to make that threshold, and it's a little awkward because we can't build any good items because we only have a rod and a chain, which builds the locket, and that's not what you want right now. One other thing, we are on a 5-game win streak, so we do get bonus gold from the win streak bonus. And then you have to think now, like, what should we do? It's stage 3-1, we have 60 gold. We probably should level up to level 6, even if you can, like, beat the other players, but technically you should always scout beforehand. So I'm probably going to just do that, drop in the other Jinx because she has the Prankster buff, and just go from there. It's okay that we lose 1 gold of interest because it highly increases the chances that we get the bonus 3 gold from the streak bonus. Against this player, it didn't actually matter. We probably would have won no matter what, which is, again, why it's most important to scout every time. But sometimes you get lazy. Sometimes you don't actually know the answer, even if you do scout. So it's most likely safe to just level up, especially if you only lose 1 gold from it. There are instances where you lose 2 gold from that level up, in which case you have to think a bit deeper. But if you only lose 1 gold, then it's really not the end of the world. So out of these choices, maybe Celestial Blessing is the best. I think I end up re-rolling this. None of these are really screaming out to me. And then we finally get the Anima Squad emblem, which is obviously what we wanted. And very beautiful there. We get 2 upgrades. In fact, we need to find another unit to play. Probably like the Pike or the Renekton would do fine. We drop the Anima Squad spatula onto our Jax. He's going to make great use of the AP and the AD that he gets. And he'll kind of be like our fake item holder right now. He has a Sunfire cape, but it's just really just any brawler that we're trying to play. Jinx is probably our biggest damage dealer right now. Against this player, what's going on here? Rageblade with the Ace Crest, very interesting build. We're able to win this one out pretty easily, mainly because we have 2-star Jinx. Ooh, he's got Toma traits and Infiniteam Crest. That could be kind of dangerous later on for us. But let's see what we get here. Aatrox, Morgana, probably play the Morgana over the Pike. Just because we don't have any of the Magic Shred. Aatrox and Pike over the Brawler package is probably good too. Aatrox, just decent tank unit, and then Pike, very good CC unit. So they're just like overall unit improvements over the Vi and the Jax because they don't really do too much for us. I'm actually going to put the Sunfire and the Prankster onto the Pike because he's going to be a little sneaky. He's going to jump to the back line, and he's going to be putting the healing debuff from the Sunfire cape onto every single unit of their team. So I think he's actually a better holder than the Aatrox. He did a funny thing there. He jumped, and then did he prank out or something? Is that what happened? We'll have to take a look at it in the next fight, but that was obviously pretty funny to me at least. With the stun, we're able to beat the mech. CC is a really good counter to mechs. Not that it always works, but most of the time it does. So on this carousel, we want to finish either the chain item or the rod item. Both are good. There was a misfortune with the tier on this carousel again. We obviously would want that, but we're less picks, so we're not getting that. But the Vayne with the glove, perfectly fine. It allows us to build the Jeweled Gauntlet, and it also gets us a Vayne. So we're able to get to 5 Anima Squad. We level up to level 7, maintain above 50 gold. By the way, general rule of thumb here. A lot of people ask me like, oh, when do I level up to level 7 on stage 3-5? And the rule is pretty simple. If you can maintain 30 or more gold on a level up, you might as well level up. And the reason why is because you can get back up to 50 pretty easily. And you really only just lose out on 3 gold of interest between now and the neutral round. So it's not that big of a deal because you get better shop odds, and you also get 1 more unit on your team, which saves you precious life total. The reason why you don't go down to 20 gold is because at 20 gold, it's difficult to get up back to 30, which makes it harder to get back to 40. So it only works at 30 or above, so just always keep that in mind. We are facing off against the Vayne 2. Holy cow, is this the end of our win streak? I can't tell at this point, but it definitely is looking like it. That was a pretty big stun, but yeah, this Vayne is probably going to finish us off. So no win streak there. A little unfortunate, but you know what? It is what it is. We do get a bunch of gold. We get a baby Nico, and then we get a tier. So, sorry, I shouldn't say baby Nico. It's a baby champion duplicator. The reason why people call it a Nico is because there used to be a unit or like a consumable, and it was called Nico's Help, but they removed that to avoid confusion with the actual champion Nico, and here we are today. And also, since our win streak is now over, we don't need to level as aggressively, so if we were still on a win streak, I'd probably level up to level 8 here because we had 82 gold. It costs 52 gold to level up, so we'd still remain above 30 gold. But since there's a clean level up on the next round and we'll have a better idea of what we're going to do because of the augment, we'll just rest up here. Did my Jinx just shoot a rocket at someone who was dead? Okay, that's a little unfortunate, but I think we still win the fight, so that is very welcome news. And what do we do with this baby champion duplicator? And Jinx whiffed another ult. It happens, you know, she's just kind of like that sometimes. She is a little crazy, right? Well, with the baby duplicator, you could either do the reroll Riven or Vayne strategy, but after seeing these augment choices, that's not really what we're going to be doing. So we probably want to re-roll this. We want to get either like a Fiddle or Urgot augment or the Misfortune augment. So this Fiddle one's all right. This other Urgot one is all right, but the carry Urgot one is really what we're after, the shiny one that we see here. So we might as well just grab that and pretty much just use it to farm a lot of items. It's not that the other one's bad. It's just in this specific team composition, not as useful because we're not that attack speed reliant. But we drop Urgot in, put the Anima on him. He's very good with Anima because he gets a lot of AP and AD. Both stats he makes great use of because he gets a lot of items from the AP, and then the AD gives him damage. There are very few champions that use both types of stats, and Urgot definitely is one of them. All right, drop Morgana in. She's going to be really strong. We do lose the 4 Prankster, which is a little unfortunate, but 2-star Morgana, it's an upgraded unit, and we don't have any magic or armor penetration, so she's going to be a big help to us here. Hopefully our Urgot comes off. By the way, whenever you get this Urgot augment, or whenever you play Urgot in general, make sure to scout, because you always want to have him hit the most amount of units, and he hits his wave thing in a line in front of him. So if we positioned on the right against this player, we would have gotten a little bit more loot. Also, we made a mistake last turn. Not really a mistake. We just kind of ran out of time. But you definitely should roll on stage 4-2 if you don't have a lot of upgrades. And this game we did not, but we took too long trying to re-roll our augments that we didn't have enough time to like re-roll our shop. But we're going to do that right now. We see the Misfortune. We have the Gnar 2 if we want it. We could probably play it over... could it be the Nyla? No, Kaisa in over Nyla. We should play it somehow. I just don't know how to replace it right now. Probably just Prankster, the Silas. Maybe the Morgana. Maybe Prankster Morgana would have been the best. But who are we facing here? The Mecha Prime. Oh, wow. That is a big Aatrox. I think Aatrox with this Mecha Prime thing is very interesting. I don't know if it's good or not, but it's for sure very interesting because he scales off of his health. And Mecha Primes get a ton of health. So kind of odd dynamic there. But of course we're going to lose this one because he has Aatrox 2-star. Meanwhile, we have Jinx 2-star. So if we win this one, something is wrong with the game. On the carousel, we want either a sword because we have an extra tier for the Shojin, or we want to build another Archangels, but we don't get either, so we'll just grab the bow. Maybe we build a Titan's Resolve. Even like a Static Shiv could be useful because then we could drop Morgana later on. We built Static Shiv in the other game, I believe, right? It's a pretty decent item in Anima Squad. I wouldn't say it's the best one. Ionic Spark might be a little bit better, just because a lot of units can hold it. You could put it on your Riven, your Fiddlesticks, any of those champions. And we're actually going to put the Static Shiv on our Urgot. I think he has the highest attack speed. He has like a 1.0 attack speed, so he's going to get pretty decent amount of procs off. But you could also put it on your Kaisa. It honestly doesn't make that much of a difference. So at least in this fight, our Urgot's in a slightly better position than last one. At least visually it looks like it. He's going to get a huge ultimate here. I think he's going to hit his whole team. We get like 3 chests. That is a lot of gold. Man, this shiny thing is really, really fun. If you ever get the chance to take this one, definitely go for it because I know we lost the round, but our team's kind of weak. This person has Warwick 2-star. He has 10 gold. We have 50 gold or 60 gold and no Misfortune 2, but that should change soon enough. This is one of those times where it's like we probably should roll down. I'm being a little greedy by not rolling, to be honest, but I'm doing like a fast 9, but I probably should have just rolled at like stage 4-5 or 4-2. A lot of people will use the term roll until stable. A stable in this game would probably be like Misfortune 2, Echo 2, maybe some threat that's 2-star, that's not Morgana, maybe like Aatrox 2, Garen 2, things like that. Pretty much all the flex units we played in the last game, we'd want them around this time. And since we had a lot of gold, we probably could have hit it, but we went a little greedy. Also, gold is less important when you have Urgot with shiny. He pretty much gives us all the interest that we need for the rest of the game. So interesting items here. Hopefully we pop this and get the final Misfortune item. So we could build maybe Some people build Rageblade on Misfortune if they can't get a Shojin because it's kind of like a fake mana regeneration item. In TFT, you gain mana by auto-attacking, and by auto-attacking more and more, it's kind of like a fake mana gain. But we could also just go triple damage item on Misfortune or Urgot, so I'm probably just going to drop it on the Urgot for now, the Guard Breaker. It's pretty decent on him because he focuses a lot of tank units because he attacks the front line, so a lot of the units that Urgot actually attacks are going to be shielded, which makes it a lot easier for him to kind of pop off. Uh-oh, this person also has shiny, but has the convenience of having Urgot 2-star, so that's a little not fair. We also don't get any loot from our thing. I think he might get a lot of loot though, but hopefully our Misfortune casts one more time. Does not actually look like it. Wait, she actually lived with 1 life. Oh, he got so many chests. Okay, we are able to squeak this win by. No, we are not. Holy cow, that Aurelion Soul lived for so long because of Celestial Blessing. Well, if you ever wondered why anti-heal is useful, this is definitely one of those fights that kind of illustrate that. Onto our next shop, we have another Misfortune. We're probably going to level up to level 9 here. It's only 20 gold, and then we should do a big roll down. I don't know why I'm like reading his ability, but let's do it now. Hopefully we get Misfortune 2-star. We're still looking for 7 Anima with the Riven 2. Okay, there's Misfortune 2. Fiddle's going to be great. We could probably drop down to 5 Anima like we did in the last game. I probably should have bought the Aatrox with that in mind, because Aatrox plus Fiddle, both 2-star, definitely better than the Silas and the Nasus, but we could kind of just wait on that. Also, like, Silas has a Prankster emblem. I feel like maybe a Fiddle with Prankster is probably pretty decent. I had that in one of my games, like in set 8. It was pretty decent. I had like Edge of Night, Bloodthirster, and Prankster emblem. I believe that was my build, and essentially at like so many different breakpoints, the Fiddle had some way of getting a little bit more survivability. So it was just kind of funny. Not that it's good, it's just kind of funny. Not that it's bad either though, because on legendary units, you really just need any item on them. It doesn't really matter too much exactly what it is, you just want stats on them. And you never should build for legendary units. So whenever you're building items in the early game, don't build like a Morello Namicon because you're like, oh, that's like Fiddlestick's best item. I'm going to play around my Fiddlesticks. Never ever do that. The reason why is pretty self-explanatory. It's pretty hard to kind of get it. And if you get it, you're happy anyways, even if you don't have the perfect items for them. And you could still win a lot of games that way. In fact, you also save health by building like better items for your immediate team rather than for your legendaries. The reason why you build items for your 4-cost units is because it's pretty reliably, or you can pretty reliably hit 4-cost units, especially to 2-star. And you can't say the same about legendaries. Sometimes I don't even get 1 copy of a legendary, let alone a 2-star legendary of my choosing. Here we want our 3rd Misfortune item, but that doesn't seem to exist here. So we could probably just take a tank item, the Shroud or the Zephyr. Any of those will do. So we end up taking the tank item. That's probably going to go on Echo. I just realized we have Echo 1-star only. Where's our 2-star Echo? We rolled so much gold. Okay, maybe we get a Nard 2 for 4 Prankster. At least he has the 4 Prankster buff, but it really would benefit us to get our main tank to 2-star. Yeah, probably just use a duplicator on Nard. Oh, I realized I made a mistake this game. I thought I had Riven 2-star, which is why I used the baby champion duplicator onto the Gnar, because I thought like we wouldn't use it for any other unit, but I honestly like didn't realize we only had Riven 1-star. Also, we put the tank item on Fiddle. It's pretty decent just because, again, you just want to itemize your legendaries. Even though he isn't primarily a tank, he still has a lot of health, so the resistances that you get from Stoneplate definitely like kind of add up a little bit or like get a ton of value. We get a Last Whisper from that. That's not what we want. Last Whisper only really fits on Urgot, but unfortunately, our Urgot already has full items. And I think we actually are doing pretty... Oh, I remember this fight. We are winning the fight, but then his Fiddlesticks with like full Archangel stack and Corruption stack just like one-tapped my team. That was kind of crazy there. Pretty fun build. If we had Echo 2, could we have won that? I'm not really sure. I'm thinking we could win the fight a little faster, and then that makes it so his Fiddle doesn't get that many stacks. Well, it would still get the Corruption stacks, but it wouldn't get the Archangel stacks or as many. Oh, we got Zephyr here. That's a little unfortunate. So we're in 4th place right now. There are 5 players left in the game, so we have at least a top 5, which is already pretty solid. And with our like board, We're probably gonna get like top 3 at least here just because we have our full board upgraded. Honestly, this game, we should have done even better because we hit level 9 with like a ton of gold really early. We just weren't able to hit our key units such as Urgot 2-star, Echo 2-star earlier on. And that definitely does have major implications on what we can do. Unfortunate here, if we put the tank item on our Echo before, we could have gotten the Thieves Glove for our Fiddlesticks, but we also don't get a Misfortune item, so this is really, really bad. Maybe it's Edge of Night Misfortune, or no, Quicksilver Misfortune. The reason why is because Quicksilver, it helps her cast a little faster because she gets attack speed. It makes it so she can't get interrupted. And lastly, it gives critical strike. I think I think Quicksilver gives like 40 or 30% critical strike. And with the Jeweled Gauntlet, that boosts up her damage, like not an astronomical amount, but like a pretty decent amount. Oh, you may notice our Urgot's in the middle. That's because in the PvE rounds, I'm pretty sure he gets stacks from the neutral minion. At least it did in the previous. He just got us 5 stacks or 5 treasure chests. Holy cow. But you have to remember to move him back because we definitely should have placed him on the left side against this player at least. And always scout again whenever you play Urgot because you just never know what side people are going to be on. Let's roll down a bit. We want Urgot 2. We want maybe like something better than the Gnar, like a Garen 2 or something like that. Or like a second Fiddle 2. Why not? Nothing though. That's a little unfortunate. I'm actually glad this game kind of played out this way because personally for me, I get a ton of games where I get great starts where I'm like win streaking in the stage 2, win streaking a bit in stage 3, and then all of a sudden I start like losing every round and I just don't hit stuff. And sometimes that's bound to happen. Even if you get a good starting hand, which is essentially what we got in this game, it doesn't mean you like automatically win the game. You know, you still have to play the game and you're not guaranteed to hit even though you have more gold than other people. And that is one of the troubles with forcing a singular comp. Also, the reason why we didn't get Urgot 2-star is because this person has like 7 copies of or 8 copies of Urgot, and he asked us to sell the Urgot so that he could get Urgot 3. So we'll just go ahead and do that. Might as well be a little nice, you know. We could also build the Last Whisper, keep the Anima Squad emblem on the Urgot. Maybe we should have put that on Fiddlesticks. Keep the Static Shiv on Urgot, and then put the Guard Breaker on Fiddlesticks. But we probably should have put Anima Squad on our Fiddlesticks as well. Rolling down a bit, there's another Fiddle. And we're not able to get the second Fiddle too. Did we skip over all the Garens or something like that? Also, is Fiddle 1 better than this Gnar? I know Gnar doesn't really do much, but getting 4 Prankster versus 3 Prankster, I feel like is a solid difference, you know? Oh man, this Fiddlesticks in the back line. It actually didn't do that much damage because we don't have much built-in damage on him. Kind of unfortunate, but I think we're still able to win. So that's pretty good. We got a lot of gold from the chests. Unfortunately, we didn't get like that many items this game. I think we only got 1 item component from the Urgot chests. So we could get another Fiddlesticks here. Oh, he took it. What do we even want? I picked up a Jeweled Gauntlet. Yeah, and then, yeah, it's kind of sad. I sold my Urgot for him, and then he takes my Fiddlesticks. It's actually pretty pathetic, in my opinion. It is what it is. Maybe it wasn't on purpose or anything, but kind of wanted the Fiddle 2-star or second Fiddle. And then we'll give the Jeweled Gauntlet to Fiddlesticks, and then he's pretty well itemized now. We're going to end up facing the ghost of the Laser Core player. I think we are stronger than the Laser Core player, even if it wasn't the ghost, because with Fiddle 2 with 3 items, I think we are pretty set. And our MF, even though it's not like best in slot MF, pretty far from it, just because Shojin is that important, I think we still should win out against a Laser Core person because we just have so many legendaries. Wait, this Warwick's actually... We lost to the ghost? No way. Okay. Maybe we're not that much stronger. Maybe the Mordekaiser does too much work. We are technically down an augment because this Urgot augment doesn't give us any combat stats. And while it has given us a lot of gold, apart from getting the second Fiddlesticks 2, we didn't get anything really like that insane. Like we don't have like Riven 3, we don't have Echo 3, we don't have Misfortune 3 or anything like that. We don't even have Urgot 2-star. So even though it got us a ton of stuff, like again, sometimes you just don't hit even if you have a lot of gold. It's kind of like if you're at like a fundraiser, you buy a lot of raffle tickets, and even if you have the most raffle tickets, doesn't mean you're going to win the most amount of stuff, right? Because at the end of the day, like luck is part of the draw, so to speak, and yeah, that could be an issue. Our Misfortune got a little blocked by the Bramble Vest on the Riven, which is a little annoying. I think that actually costs us this round, and we end up losing this one. I don't know how that Riven walked up, but that definitely didn't help. So we get 3rd place here, which honestly is okay. We had really good augments, but the game just didn't kind of play out the way we wanted to. To start off the silver game, we have a cloak, and we're going to get some gold in the first minion round. This game will show one of the easier ways to kind of navigate the comp from the early, mid to late game, and you'll see why in just a minute. So far though, we don't have too many Anima Squad units. We're probably just going to hold on to the Silas. For our augment selection, we get the Anima Squad crest. Obviously this is going to be like the thing we're going to take here because this is an Anima Squad video after all. If you're playing Flex, you'd probably take the Portable Forge. That's probably the best option at this point, honestly. But let's put in some of the units. We have a Renekton 2, a Pantheon 2. We also want to fit in Silas and the Anima Squad spatula, so we have to sell everything, buy that, and then you don't have to pick up the orb because it holds a Silas, and we already have a Silas, so we don't really need it yet. And then I'm going to go ahead and build the Gargoyle Stone Plate on my Pantheon. The other items you could build is either Runons or Titan's Resolve. The only usable one is going to be maybe Titan's Resolve, but it's not really that useful in an Anima Squad comp, at least in my opinion. So you just build the Gargoyle Stone Plate. Every team needs a tank, and that is going to be a tank item. So even though it's not like one of the best items or anything, you could still sort of build it. Now it's time for a pop quiz. Anyone know why Gargoyle Stone Plate isn't that great on Anima Squad? Not that it's bad, but at least try to think of a reason why it could be not like the best item in the comp. It's always important to also think for yourself and critically think about each situation rather than just take whatever I say and just roll with it. Because in the long term, that's how you actually become a better TFT player and probably better at like other things in life too. So the reason why you don't want Gargoyle Stone Plate in the Anima Squad composition is because you run a lot of tanks. So Gargoyle Stone Plate is really good in like 1 or 2 tank compositions. So that is going to be stuff like Mech. That's going to be stuff like maybe you have like a main tank Garen or something like that, or a Star Guardian comp where like Echo's your main tank. But if you have a lot of people in the front line like Anima Squad typically does, you have Silas, you have Nasus, you have Echo, you have Garen, you have like Fiddlesticks. That's like 5 different units in the front line. The value of having a Gargoyle Stone Plate goes down a little bit because the way it works is you get more resistances based on how many people are targeting that particular unit. So if you have a lot of units out there, you pretty much just get like a tiny bit less value from it, which means that you probably would have wanted other tank items instead, such as like a Redemption, Warmogs, Bramble Vest, Dragon Claw, like pretty much any of the other Sunfire Cape, any of the other tank items. Whenever you do have this item, make sure to put that tank unit on the outside. You may notice my Pantheon's on kind of like the outskirts of my front line. That way, like ideally more people kind of target him, and that should eventually help you out. We are able to finish off those like last couple of units, so this is a pretty good loss, even though we would have preferred to win. Let's go into the carousel. We have a bow, so maybe we could build a Static Shiv, maybe we could build the Rage Blade, maybe we could build even like a Giant Slayer would do fine, or just pick up a tier just so we can build Spear of Shojin or like the Rod so we could build MF items later on. So we already have 1 tank item with the Gargoyle Stone Plate, so after that you just need some damage items. Unfortunately, we end up having to take the belt, which is perfectly fine. It's nothing wrong with it. It just sucks that we can't build an item right away, and it's not like one of the damage items that we wanted. So you want the damage item because, again, we already have some tank items. You always want to balance in TFT, but we will eventually use the belt later on, especially since we have a lot of units that can kind of utilize those frontline items. We are moving into the final round of Stage 2, though. We have the Riven and Nasus, so we are able to get to 5 Anima Squad. We could do it right now, but maybe the Pantheon's a bit better. Actually, maybe the Riven's pretty good. Yeah, replace Pantheon with a Nasus, and then Riven gets the Brawler buff with Renekton. I end up making a mistake here. I actually sell the Renekton instead of the Pantheon. I honestly don't know why. I was probably thinking, oh, maybe I could get like more heart synergy or something like that, and then I forget to put in Nasus because I was too slow. That's way too funny. But yeah, I should have just left Renekton in and replaced the Pantheon. It's really not that difficult of a decision. I don't know why it took so long to think of it. But we're against a Heart player, Heart with Lux. No mana items on Hearts yet. Whenever you play Hearts, I recommend only doing it if you have like a bunch of mana regeneration items, just because that's like really what the trait benefits from. My Jinx really whiffed. Has that been happening a lot to all of you as well? Because I feel like my Jinx has been missing a lot in this video, but it is what it is. We probably lost this fight because we did not put in 5 Anima, but it's all good. we are able to pick up the vein, and then we could just go ahead and get on with our day. From the golems, we get a glove. And again, I don't know why I sold Renekton. Renekton is actually like one of the best early game units. So you generally should keep him in like most team compositions, at least in the early game. And then we get some gold and a rod. So that's very good items. We could build an Archangels. We could build maybe like a guard breaker. We could build a jeweled gauntlet. There are honestly like so many options we can choose from here. I might actually have like decision fatigue from this because there's like way too many options. Apparently that's a thing in like supermarkets when they have like too many brands available of, let's say, like tomato sauce. There are like 50 different tomato sauces on the counter. People get what's called decision fatigue, because normally when you go to a grocery store, you're buying like maybe like 10, 20, 30 items, and then you have to make like 30 decisions during that one shopping trip, right? Because you have to be like, oh, I want to buy this, I don't want to buy that, and then which brand for each one. So if you buy like 30 items, maybe you're making like 60 or more decisions because you have to decide whether to buy it or not, and then which brand afterwards. So it could get a little exhausting, I guess. Anyways, you might be wondering why I'm not building an item yet, and that's because we're not really on any sort of streak, and I want to just wait until the next round to see if I get Spread Shot Vein, because if you do end up getting Spread Shot Vein, the build for Anima Squad changes up a little bit. So that's one thing to keep in mind for this comp. There are two different directions you could go into, either the Misfortune carry or the Vayne carry, but you really only should play Vayne carry with Spread Shot. So I want to just go for Lucky Gloves here. You probably could do Preparation Windfall or just reroll this. Maybe reroll is the best option. But Lucky Gloves, we already have a glove on our bench, so maybe we could get like 2 of them. That would kind of be fun. But rerolling is probably your best bet here. One of the issues with taking Lucky Gloves is that one of the best holders of it is probably Riven. But Riven already has like capped out items, and then I should probably just build this second one on, or this first one on our Vayne. And you may notice like a similarity to a previous game where we put Thieves Glove on Vayne as well, and I wanted it on my Riven in the other game too. The reason why is because if you have Anima Squad Spatula, you want the Anima Squad emblem on like one of your non-Anima units. So the only units that end up having no items is going to be a champion such as Riven, who can make use of all sorts of different combinations. Of course, since we have Lucky Gloves, like more people can kind of use it. I accidentally autopiloted and built the Jeweled Gauntlet on my Jinx, but you really should save that for the second Thieves Gloves, in my opinion. We could also Static Shiv the Jinx. I wouldn't mind that either, but Spear Shojin's just so important. I think we just kind of wait for it. We are able to win out this round. This person has a ton of items on his bench, like 5 item components. Actually, when we scouted around, a lot of people have like a ton of components on their bench. That's definitely like one of those like low level mistakes that you should try to not make. We get a ton of gold from this little egg thing. No items, so we'll just build the Static Shiv onto our Jinx right now. And then we're kind of just waiting for the next carousel because we do have the belt still. And with that belt, we could finish up a defensive item. So we already have a lot of offense. We have the Thieves Glove on Vayne. We have the Static Shiv and Jeweled Gauntlet, and then we only have 1 tank item. We have the Gargoyle Stoneplate. So getting like a Warmog Sunfire Cape here would probably be ideal. And we are facing off against someone else who is playing like a little bit of Anima, but because they have Trade Sector and Level Up, I doubt that they're actually like going that hard into Anima. They're probably going into just some Fast 9 comp and going from there. Fun fact, Level Up is actually really good when you get it on Stage 3. A lot of people think it's good on Stage 2, but it actually has much better performance when you get it in Stage 3 because you typically have more gold at that time. Here I'm conflicted. I'm like, do I get the belt with the Misfortune, which is the item I talked about before, the Warmogs, plus it's a Misfortune, or do I go gloves to get another Lucky Gloves because I messed up before by building the Jeweled Gauntlet? This is kind of like the mind versus body challenge or whatever, because yeah, like some parts of you are telling you to just go for the second Lucky Gloves, but then like a little bit more rational part of the brain is like, let's just build the Warmogs and get a Misfortune. Like, come on, it's just too good to be true, right? We also did level up to level 7 here because we kept up with our rule. We stay above 30 gold, assuming we win, but we probably will win this round. And that's just something you should pretty much just try to keep following. Don't forget it, because a lot of times in TFT, you know something, right? And then you make a mistake in your game, and then you review the game and you're like, oh, I already know about that mistake. Like, oh, let's say you didn't level here. You're like, hey, I probably should have leveled, but you already knew that from beforehand. So just make sure you actually use the knowledge that you get and execute it in as many games as possible. That's part of the reason why like hindsight TFT is so easy, because like sometimes a play is just very obvious if you just have more time to look at it, or if you're like just fully paying attention. If anyone here has ever played chess before, sometimes there are like chess puzzles that you do and you look at it for like 30 minutes or like 20 minutes and you're like, I can't find the solution. But then you take a break, you go get some lunch or whatever, and then you come back and then you just see it right away. Sometimes just like a fresh pair of eyes just really makes the correct play really obvious sometimes. We get a big win streak into stage 4, so this is going to give us a ton of bonus gold. That is kind of like the power of Anima Squad in like lower ratings. The board really doesn't change. We're just running as many Anima Squad as we possibly can. We didn't really do anything that crazy, right? And then some games you just like have a huge win streak like we do now, and you get a ton of bonus gold. But some of you may be wondering like, what do I do if I don't get this win streak? And then you're wondering like, hey, on stage 4, I saw you were level 7 with like 50 or 60 gold, but when I'm on stage 4-1, I'm at level 7 with like 40 or 30 gold. What do I do in those situations? Well, you have to figure out whether you want to stabilize at level 7 or go level 8. So typically when you have a lot of gold, you can afford to go level 8. It's definitely much easier to play this way because you play around champions like Misfortune. And here, since we have a lot of gold and a lot of life, we could just simply wait, level up next turn or on stage 4 or 5 to level 8, and then roll down and have a very high possibility of hitting Misfortune 2 and maybe like 1 or 2 legendary units, such as like a 1-star Fiddlesticks or a 1-star Urgot to fit into our team. However, if you are like level 7, 30 gold at this point in the game, you probably should just roll down, stabilize, and hit like Riven 2, Vayne 2, and maybe even like a Nard 2 or like an Echo. And when you do that, you essentially save a lot of life total during stage 4 and start like a new win streak of your own, or just make sure you don't die and try to play for like a 4th place, because you can't play to win every single game. That's another like big mistake that people make, because it's an 8-player game. Assuming equal skill, there's only like a, 12.5% chance to win the game. So you really shouldn't play with like winning every game in mind. Let's take a look at the augments. It's a 3-3-4. Make It Rain's really good, but we have a very high chance to get the other one, the Bunny Mercenary. So we're going to reroll for that. If you look at our traits on the left-hand side, we have Anima, Prankster, and Ace activated. So it's actually really, really unlucky that we don't get Misfortune, even though there's only one 4-cost slot. Now, you could look back in hindsight and say like, hey, you probably should have just taken the Make It Rain augment, right? Because it's still pretty good. Like, I'm going to have a good game with it anyways. But I had like a lot of rerolls left at that point. I believe we had 3 rerolls left. And the way augments work, or hero augments work, is every single team composition can see threat or ace champions. So ace champions are great for us because Misfortune's an ace champion. We also have the ace trait activated. I believe that increases the chance of aces showing up even more. And we also had Anima Squad active as well, which should give a Misfortune. The only other 4-cost we could have seen is Samira and Prankster Echo, because we have Prankster active before. Apart from that, threat units could show up, but no matter what comp you're playing, threat units can show up. But essentially what I'm trying to say is, even though we only had 1 card slot for 4-cost units, we still had a very high chance of getting Misfortune because we got her from like 3 different sources. We have the Anima Squad trait, we have the Ace trait, and we have like the generic Ace trait as well. And we didn't have other synergies that kind of mess with it. The only other champions would be Echo and Samira, and we hit exactly like 2 of them, which is a little unlucky. But Echo isn't too bad, right? He's still usable. But you can already see the power dynamic that could be different as well. If we had that Misfortune augment, the carry one, we'd have Misfortune 2-star right now, and then instead of this Echoed, we have like a Nar 1-star. But that obviously would be a much more powerful team than we have now. But you know what? Sometimes like crap happens and we have to play the Echo. Again, not the end of the world, and you shouldn't let like a bad augment kind of ruin your day unless it truly is complete garbage. There are some times where you get actually completely screwed over, such as you can get non-tailored champion augments, but those are generally pretty rare. So the way it works is, if you get the same augment twice, instead of showing you the same augment again, it gives you a random augment, and that's the main way of how untailored champion augments show up in your shop. We get a Fiddlesticks here. Fiddlesticks is pretty powerful. He's obviously better than that Ezreal that we were about to play. You really want Kai'Sa because Kai'Sa gives Star Guardian and Quick Draw. And while Quick Draw is incredibly good and Misfortune kind of is our primary carry right now, I don't really care that much about the trait because 1, she only has like 1 true item, which is the Jeweled Gauntlet, and 2, she's only 1-starred, so she's not going to be doing like that much carrying, even though she still is my main carry. So another thing I want to point out is, why put the Static Shiv on Misfortune? And I'll explain that right now. Normally you want to put like 3 pure damage items on Misfortune. I think Static Shiv, if you're not an attack speed based champion, it's more of like a supportish item. However, you could still put it on your primary carry if specific conditions happen. So in TFT, you get a set amount of items. Typically, it's going to be around 6 completed items at the end of stage 4. So once stage 5 starts, you typically have like 3 items for your main carry and 3 items for your main tank. And sometimes you have like 2 for each and then like 1 or 2 utility items. We already have like a lot of different items built right now. So we can't really afford to get like 3 really good misfortune items. So to kind of play around that, you just drop the static shiv on her. It's not a bad item on her. You still need the magic resist penetration, and it also gives her attack speed and mana, which is exactly what she needs because she likes to cast a lot. Then it also gives you more time to focus on items for every other champion that you have in the game, which should make your immediate team's power a lot more powerful. Of course, the super late game is a little bit worse if you do end up building the static shiv on your misfortune, but in the immediate term, your team can get a lot stronger, which should hopefully help you win the game anyways. Sometimes to get first place, you don't need to have the strongest team. You just need to knock everyone else out before they get like a super strong team where they kind of outscale. So there are kind of 2 different ways to think about playing the game. Also, we do end up getting the... Oh my god, that is a Gnar 3-star. Golden ticket and trade sector, so I guess that makes sense because they have 2 very good econ augments for reroll. Wow, that is just very powerful though. I just didn't expect that. But we do need to fit this Kaisa in somehow. We probably need to either level up or drop... Maybe... you can't drop the Echo. You don't really want to drop the... Fiddlesticks either. So we might have to drop down to 5 Anima Squad before we get everyone up to 2-star. So it's going to be a little awkward right now. I think we really want to like keep rolling at level 8 still because we're pair of Echo, pair of Misfortune. So we have a very high chance of getting them up to 2-star. Also, let's swap the Thieves Glove over onto Fiddlesticks because we randomly have a 2-star Fiddlesticks. But it's a little weird right now. Like, we probably should roll here, but we also want to level up to fit in Kaisa, but it's for sure roll. There we go. We get Misfortune 2-star, and then now, since we're pretty healthy, we're 60 life, we could level up to level 9. This is another one of those important moments where you need to differentiate what's happening in your game versus what's happening in my game. So in your game, you might not be 60 life. So if you are 60 life or above, go up to level 9. However, if you're like 30 life, like some of the other players in our game right now, you might want to stay at level 8 and roll down for Echo 2, Riven 2, Vayne 2, because we sold our Vayne, and use that to kind of just stabilize and hopefully get like a 3rd or 2nd or something like that. But if you want to try to win the game, only do that if you're in the right position to do so, which is something like having a lot of life and a lot of gold. So here's when I kind of reconsider my position a little bit. I do end up rolling a little bit because... getting quick draw in is really good. We do have a 2-star Misfortune right now, so it's probably the time to drop from 7 Anima to 5 Anima, especially after losing the last couple of rounds. Had we won them, maybe we do something a little different, but since we lost, it's a bit of a struggle right now. So I put in the Acel 2 temporarily, and then we'll drop in the Kaisa. Ideally, we have like a Garen 2-star in instead of this Aurelion Soul. Maybe this Urgot's better than Acel already, though, so probably sell the Garen, buy the Urgot, and then drop in the Urgot over the Aurelion next turn. So who are we facing off against here? We are against a Nico player with hearts. That's a pretty interesting build, actually. This player also has a lot of gold, so they might be saving up for like super late game. So even though we beat them now, we might not be able to beat them later. Hopefully Urgot can help us farm a bunch of items and then we could get more powerful that way. What we really actually need is an item remover because we really want to put this Anima Squad spatula onto our Urgot because he's just one of the best users of it. So this is a very interesting carousel. We probably just want to take a tank item here though, or get an Urgot item, probably the guard breaker for Urgot. And then, yeah, there's really not too many other options here. Toma traits could be really good because we could get Anima, Prankster, or like maybe even like Star Guardian Crest, but Anima Squads is obviously the best option here. And I'm watching this replay and I don't know why, but I sold my Urgot. I think that's a mistake. I think he's better than the Aurelion Soul 2-star, especially after getting Anima Squad Spatula. Yeah, not really sure why I did that when I'm looking back at the game, especially since we could have just dropped Vayne. We don't need Vayne anymore because we have the 5 Anima Squads still, so we could have just played Urgot over Vayne, and that would have been more than enough. Another really tragic part about this game is that you may have noticed that we have a lot of like anti-synergy with our items. So let me explain that. We have the lucky gloves, right? But we also have a lot of spatula items. So we have like 2 Anima Squad spats, and we also have a 2-star Fiddlesticks. and a 2-star Aurelion Soul. The only issue is I really needed to put the Thieves Glove onto the Fiddlesticks, but then when you do that, he can't hold the Anima Squad Spatula, so a big trait that I'm running just isn't getting any value on that legendary unit. We could also look into a scenario where I have a lot of other Thieves Gloves and then I get like 2 or 3 lucky gloves, but we still would have a lot of trouble fitting all those items onto our team because of all the spatula items that we have, because you want them on your like good units, which are typically the units that hold the emblems. And if you do that, they can't hold the Thieves Glove. So it's a bit of an awkward situation, even if we did have a lot of more gloves to kind of play around. We were facing off against a Kaisa reroller, but we're able to win this one pretty convincingly. I just really wish we kept that Urgot because we definitely could have farmed a bunch of items from him. We get another Thieves Gloves, but this is again the exact situation I'm talking about. We have items on a bunch of random units, so we're just going to give it to our Vayne in the late game. That seems a little weird. Probably I should also drop this Vayne for Garen. I must have forgotten that I'm running 6 Anima. This is what you kind of call like a sleep at the wheel type of gameplay. Granted, I wasn't paying like full attention in these games, but it's still like something that you need to look into if you're like actually trying to like play better. But yeah, some of these games I'm just playing while I'm like doing other stuff in the background. That's kind of why you see like sometimes my mouse doesn't move at all during these games. Maybe I edit over those parts, but because I'm playing on like an account that I like just made, sometimes I don't pay like full complete attention to what I'm doing. Hopefully I do realize the 6 Anima parts stuff soon, though. I forget if I actually remembered at some point in this game or if I just completely forgot for the whole game, because it really just means I'm down an item right now. So we are against a player with a lot of legendary units. They have high-end shopping, and they have like 2-star Fiddle, 2-star Mordekaiser, 2-star Ezreal, 2-star Urgot. That is a very, very scary team. Holy cow. We're able to not even beat the Ghost. The Ghost beats us. That is a little concerning, and they are at 41 life right now. They probably will win this game. We do have some good news, though. We haven't hit level 9 yet, so we could still fit in like 1 extra unit. Hopefully it's going to be the Garen later on, or even the Urgot. Urgot probably good too. I guess technically we could fit both of them if we drop Vayne, put in Garen and Urgot at level 9, but again, I'm just being a little clown this game. So we are against a duelist Kaisa. That's actually a very interesting build. I know we faced this player before, but I didn't notice the spatula options. It must have came from that little Toma traits at the end there. Are we still able to win this one? It does look like so, and we are able to knock him out of the game. I mean, he doesn't have Kaisa 3, so that definitely helps our cause a lot. And then because this other legendary player is like so completely jacked, we're able to squeeze out a 2nd place. We grabbed a defensive item off of Carousel, and I just realized we still don't have Echo 2-star. We kind of need to fix that. It's actually kind of nuts that we have the Echo augment, and then we just never hit Echo 2-star with like the amount of gold that we had. It's a little unfortunate, but sometimes that's how the game plays out. We do 1 donkey roll, and then we hit the Garen 2-star, but we can't really play it quite yet. I guess I could have sold the Vayne. Oh, we do get that in time. And then I should probably play the Morgana or something like that. Morgana does some good stunning, and like, even though I already have a static shiv, getting the other type of magic shred or hitting it on more people sometimes helps a little bit. But I don't know how we could beat this player. It's just like a full legendary team. Very, very hard to compete with, especially since his high-end shopping is like his augment that kind of caused that. But our prismatic augment is the lucky gloves, and lucky gloves in the late game, unless you have like a lot of them and like a lot of strong units, it's really difficult to kind of win with. But we do squeeze out something in this round. But the issue is that every time we face this player, Urgot's going to get more and more items for him. In terms of positioning in a 1v1, it's normally very important. But against this player, you really just need to kind of dodge the Urgots. That's why I put my Aurelion Soul in kind of like that little pocket on the 2nd row in the back on the left. And you also want to dodge his Mordekaiser. Notice how his Mordekaiser did not hit my Misfortune or my Aurelion Soul. And a lot of this just comes down to experimenting and experience. A lot of times players swap in very predictable manners, and sometimes they just do it completely randomly, and you kind of have to guess and get a hold of what each player is doing. Also have to remember that each player is different, so you have to see who swaps to the left, who swaps to the right. Some people never swap at all. And the trick to do this, and I've seen a lot of like very high level players do this, is they keep track during the early parts of the game. So they scout during like stage 2 and stage 3 and even stage 4, and they kind of remember who swaps and who doesn't. Again, it's still not going to be like a perfect science or anything, but in the long run, you will be getting more answers correct because people tend to do what they did previously. So if you are scouting someone in stage 2 or stage 3 and they're swapping every single turn, chances are in stage 7, they're going to be swapping as well. But a lot of this, it's not going to make or break your TFT gameplay, so to speak. Oh, this guy just hit Ezreal 3. Okay, I guess we lose this one, but we could see what Ezreal 3 kind of does. But it's still something to keep in mind as you like play a lot of TFT if you want to get like extremely better. So again, focus more on the fundamentals, which we pretty much talked about in the majority of this video so far. But if you want to take it to like the very next level, and probably do that after you hit Challenger, you don't want to start focusing on all this like really minor stuff if you're like in gold or something like that. The game we're reviewing right now is silver. We actually almost beat this player. That's actually kind of crazy. But focus more on the fundamentals, which is stuff like when should I level up? When should I roll down to stabilize? How far should I roll down to stabilize? Is this stable in this game versus the last game I just played? What items should I be building? Should I build the static shiv on my misfortune or should I put it on my jinx? Those are the types of questions you should be asking yourself, not, oh, like, is this player swapping on stage 2? Let me like use that info so I can swap better in the 1v1 scenario. And he hits Urgot 3. Okay, I even have an Urgot on my bench. He hit Ezreal 3 and Urgot 3. So even though we lost this one, at least we get to see some funny stuff. I'm trying to swap the items onto people, but I don't think it's going to matter. This Urgot just... I'm surprised it doesn't one-tap everything, but he got like a billion items, but more items than he could possibly use. And we are going to lose this game, unfortunately. But second place, still nice. Lost to a double legendary team with high-end shopping. But let's move on into the gold game. So this next game is going to be a little funky because I'm going to be doing some stuff with Anima Squad that not a lot of people do. There are a ton of ways to play unconventionally, and you could still do that while playing the same comp over and over. We get a Riven from one of the boxes, and hopefully through this game, you all can see why most people don't do this, but I see this mistake even in some of my challenger games. Right now, let's just collect some brawlers though, throw them in, and then we get a chain vest and some more gold. Jinx and Nasus are in our next shop, and this is a surefire sign to kind of consider Anima Squad. Normally in my augment guide at bunnymuffins.lol/augments, I say stuff like, oh, if you have 4 or more copies of Anima Squad units, go ahead and take this augment. And here we do have 4 of them. We have 2 Nasuses, one's in the shop. We have a Riven and we have a Jinx. But the thing is, Riven may count as like 1.5 units because she's one of the 3 cost units. So whenever you're approximating the amount of units you want, whether to take an augment or not, if you ever get like a Riven or something that's like 3 costs for that particular trait, you can always like count it a little bit higher. So unfortunately, we don't really get that option. Maybe we could have taken the 3 cost one, but here we get a bunch of weird stuff, like Defender Crest or Electro Charge probably are going to be the only options. Defender Crest is alright if it gives us a Poppy 2-star, but since it does not, Electro Charge is going to be the option. Not that Electro Charge is bad, I just kind of wanted something else. And in fact, since we got the Renekton 2, it becomes very good. As you can see in the guide, for Electro Charge, I say you take it if you have 2-star tanks and or Ionic Spark or Static Shiv, and we meet those conditions right here. So even though we did not get Anima Squad Crest, we're still in a very nice spot. We're facing off against, is this a Renegade player? No, he might be going Anima Squad as well. There's 2 Silases, 2 Nasus, 5 Silases. Is that a Silas reroll? That could be. You know, I'm not a big fan of it without one of the Silas augments, but, you know, it's a free country, so you're free to do what you choose. At the same time, I think if you want to maximize LP gains, probably should not be doing Silas reroll without Silas augments. We get a Jinx and a Nasus, and I'm kind of like that with a lot of things in life. I mean, you're talking to someone who kind of plays video games for a living right now, so I can't like put too many harsh judgments on other people, but if you want to do something, go ahead and do it. It just doesn't mean it's correct or something. We are facing off against Star Guardian's Crest. So on this particular patch, I believe Star Guardian was very popular. And not so much with Sivir, but with other units that could make really good use of the mana regeneration, definitely is very powerful because on a Misfortune, on an Aurelion Soul, you could get some devastating results. This new shop isn't that interesting, so let's move on into the fight instead. We're facing off against a person with just like a random selection of units. He's got Admin, he's got Spellslinger. It's actually like a decent early game board. Maybe if you're trying to force the block, we could see on this person's bench one LeBlanc and the LeBlanc on the board. So maybe we have to face a hacker this game, which we have to be careful about. So whenever you play or face someone in the early game and then you kind of see what comps are going, think about what that means later on. So if we're facing a hacker player, we'll definitely need to keep an eye out for scouting them just to make sure that they don't snipe our carry for free and like win the round automatically. Here, we wanted to get the rod, but unable to do that, so we'll get the belt and the sword. Belt is good for general defensive items for Riven, and then the sword is good for Shojin, it's good for Giant Slayer, and if we happen to go for a Vayne carry, it could be used on Vayne instead. Speaking of Vayne, we do get a copy of her, and let's say that we got a baby champion duplicator from the carousel. You could consider using it on your Vayne here, just to get a Vayne 2, just because we are on a 3-game win streak, and it kind of is a way to like softly make it a little more likely, just to keep the win streak up. And even though it kind of hurts us in the mid game because we won't have it to finish off all our upgrades, the gold that you get from the early game win streak, I guess sometimes you just get her for free too, is well worth it. So let's drop Nyla in because we want to run duelists. You always want to put synergies around your strong units. Right now our strong units are Nasus, Renekton, and Vayne because they're all upgraded. And since Renekton doesn't really belong in the comp, we'll kind of just move him out. And then Nasus, he's still an Anima Squad unit, so we'll keep him in for now because if he gets a kill, we get more stacks. And then since our Vayne's 2-star, we need to put in a duelist, so that's why we dropped in Nyla. We win this round here, so we get a good win streak going into Carousel, or going into the neutral round, and this is exactly where you want to be. From the neutral round, we get a sword, we get, holy cow, a lot of gold, and we got a Riven. That's pretty nice. We want to definitely sell up to 32. Probably should have kept the Renekton, but sometimes when the round ends, you don't know how much time you actually have. So you end up rushing your selling decisions. We get a Riven 2, which is obviously really big. And here you need a scout to decide whether you want to level up. So another player is also on like a pretty big win streak. This other player, a Shen 2-star. So us leveling up would probably guarantee the win streak, even though we might beat them even if they level up anyways, just because our team is so incredibly strong right now. But one thing to keep in mind is that sometimes it's best not to like limit test, because here I thought my team was super strong. We have a 2-star Riven, we have 2-star Vayne, and this person, there's nothing that spectacular about this person's team, right? But because we didn't build an item, because we didn't level up and put in the Nyla, we actually are gonna end up losing this round. Honestly, I don't even know how. I thought like no matter what, we'd be so much stronger even though we're an item down. But for some reason, yeah, maybe this person critically struck every ability because they have Jeweled Lotus, and maybe that could contribute to why they won. But it's actually kind of scary that my team lost against this player. That's why, as a general rule of thumb, if you think you can win streak by leveling up, just do it. Sometimes it's not worth overcomplicating things, and in those rare instances, something goofy must have happened this fight, right, or last fight. And you could just avoid that by playing it safe and leveling up. Okay, these item options are pretty bad, or augment options. I guess it's either Salvage Bin or Celestial Blessing. Maybe Celestial is a little bit better. The only issue is that I really wanted to get a Vayne augment here, and we didn't get that. The reason why I want the Vayne augment is because we have a Deathblade. That's one of our best items. And that's also partially why I did not slam an item last turn. You could have easily slammed the Hextech Gunblade last turn, but since we have Celestial Blessing now, it's kind of like a thank God we didn't. So since we don't have a win streak anymore, I'm not incentivized to build any items. So we'll just kind of wait around a little bit, see what we get on Carousel, maybe see what type of carries we're going to be playing around. And here we're facing off into Ezreal 2, an underground player. Oh, they have like 4 or 5 underground. I didn't actually count, but it's a lot of units, and we're able to win this round really easily because of that. So let's think about what we want to find on the carousel. Unfortunately for us, we will probably need to wait till Wolf Camp to build all of our items. Because we already have Celestial Blessing, we don't really want to build the Hextech Gunblade. And unless we're using Vayne carry specifically with Spread Shot, we probably don't want to build a Deathblade. So we're going to end up having to build like 3 different items with our 3 item components, which is definitely what you don't want to see. That's why I have my rule, whenever you have 4 or more item components, build an item. We're almost at that point. So we need to get either a tier, a bow to build Giant Slayer or Rageblade, maybe a glove to build Jeweled Gauntlet, maybe a rod to get a hat. Any of those would do just fine for me. Unfortunately, we are last pick, so we don't get first dibs, but please let us get the glove. If we end up getting a belt, yeah, if the other person wanted the glove. It's not the end of the world, but we might have to break our 4 item rule. So if you want to keep following the rule, either build a Deathblade here or build a Zeke's Herald. I forget the exact name of it. It's Zeke something, but it's the item with the sword and the belt, and it gives the unit that holds it, plus the 2 units next to it, bonus attack speed. It's an okay support item, not the best for this team composition, but it's definitely in the usable category, even though it's not like very, very good or anything like that. We're facing off against a Kaisa 2-star, but somehow we're able to... We actually sneak out a win here. Holy cow. I thought we lost that one for sure because they have their like primary carry 2-star already in the Star Guardian comp. Whereas while we do have a pretty decent Anima start, we don't have a Misfortune 1 to hold our items. Our Vayne 2-star doesn't have any items at all. And we just really don't have anything built up for our team that much quite yet. Our augments, they're all usable. Like, we don't have any bad augments. We just don't have any like really good ones, so to speak. So all we really have are upgrades. We have Vayne 2, Jinx 2, and Riven 2, and that is more than enough. If I were to get this luck in any of my next games, I would take it in a heartbeat, but there definitely are some points to improve on for our team right now. Here, let's pick up the Nyla and the Gnar, and then we'll probably level up. When you get bonus gold from the Wolf Camp, always try to see if you could level up to level 7, because getting the bonus shop odds definitely helps a lot. So I'm going to try to do that right now. We hit level 7, and then we get a level 7 shop for free. Not for free, but like if you waited to level up on stage 4-1, you just wouldn't get the bonus shop. So a bit of an awkward item selection here. We get a belt and another sword, so we just have to build the Deathblade at this point. It is what it is. I'm for sure not happy about it, but there's only so much you could do with swords, and if you just build it on your Vayne, it's not the end of the world, but it's definitely not the start of it either. We're facing off against a Gnar 2 player. This player is actually pretty strong with the Morgana 2. This is kind of like the newish version of the Gnar build. Instead of running hackers, they run Morgana and Sona instead, and pretty decent overall. It makes it so you don't need a Last Whisper, but this player built it anyways, which is fine. Maybe they had nothing else to build, but getting 3 pure items on your Gnar is definitely more than welcome. So unluckily here, no 3-cost augment. We for sure would have wanted the spread shot Vayne augment because we have great items for her, but not able to get that. So we probably want a Misfortune 1. Make It Rain or Bunny Mercenary would be both really good. You could also take Shiny. Shiny is also pretty decent, but I think just getting a Misfortune and then rushing levels at this point is decent enough because we don't have that great of items for our Misfortune. So we really don't have any items for her at all, actually. So we could actually play around like her gold that she gives us and then maybe do like a slight reroll for like Riven 3, Vayne 3 and kind of see what happens. So I don't normally recommend this. When I play Anima Squad, I typically just go for Misfortune 2-star as a main carry. But this specific game, we had a lot of copies of Rivens and Vaynes and Jinxes. So I kind of wanted to try out like a slow roll and do like a Vayne 3, Riven 3, Jinx 3 type of team. And with the bonus gold from the Misfortune augment, it might not end up being that bad. Just because we do have like Vayne and Riven items, I try to play around the units that I have built up, not the units that I don't have any items for. Again, it's not the typical way to play this comp. I wouldn't enter a game like trying to play this way. But if you ever wanted to experiment with a different build that doesn't use the specific Riven or Vayne augments and just want to see how it does, well then I would keep watching this game because it is going to be pretty interesting. So since both Riven and Vayne are 3-cost units, we're going to stay at level 7. Sometimes you could go to level 8 before you slow roll because it's the same odds for 3-cost units. But since we could go for Jinx 3 also, I'm going to stay at level 7. And we don't really have that great of a unit to put in at level 8 anyways. So you typically only want to go to level 8 whenever you're doing a 3-cost reroll if you can put a specific unit in. So I'll give you an example right now. Remember the Gnar player we had before? So if you happen to get a Nunu early on at level 7, sometimes it's best to go to level 8, even though you're rerolling for Gnar 3-star, because you're able to fit in 5 Gadgettine. If you combine the 5 Gadgettine with the Sona, the Morgana, and the Alistair, you need to head on over to level 8 in order to fit the whole team in. So that's kind of one of those times where it'd be beneficial to do that. But since we don't have like that critical of a unit to fit in, or like we don't need to reach a certain synergy, we're just going to stay happy at level 7. So here we want either a Vayne item or a Riven item. So we're going to grab the bow, probably build a Rageblade or a Giant Slayer. So if anyone watched the previous 3-hour video that I released, you'll know that in the final game, I reviewed a game from one of my viewers that also played Anima Squad. And there I talked about a common itemization mistake that people make with Vayne. So a lot of people think that Spear of Shojin is the best item on Vayne, but it's actually only the best item if you have Spread Shot. If you do not have Spread Shot, it's not that great. So just keep that in mind whenever you're playing her. If you want to just like play her as like a regular unit, you want to just build generic attack damage and attack speed items on her. So like Deathblade, Rage Blade, maybe like an Infinity Edge or something like that. But if you're specifically playing with a spread shot augment where her spell is amplified a lot, those are the situations where you would want to increase the amount of time she casts by building a Spear of Shojin. Now let's see what happens when we roll down. We do have the bonus gold right now, so we almost have Vayne 3, which is kind of cool. Almost have Riven 3, almost have Jinx 3. We probably want to all in sometime in the next turn, especially after seeing that extra Jinx over there. So going all in is always going to be a tricky situation. There's no like set rule on it. You kind of have to play it by feel. So normally you do it when you're really close to a unit. So we are one off Vayne 3. So you could consider all-inning even this turn. However, since we're pretty high life, we're second place in the lobby right now, even though it's a close lobby. Like second place is still second place. I decided to wait until after the neutral round so we could collect more interest gold. And then on the next round, we do end up getting the Vayne 3. We still want to roll for the other stuff though, so I think I'll keep rolling a little bit more here. Another note on items, you may have noticed instead of building the Giant Slayer, I built the Rage Blade instead. And the reason why I do that is because Sword builds a lot more items than the Rod for Vayne. So you just naturally want to build that. And I know I just trash talk Spear of Shojin, and there's actually like a bug that's really bad for Vayne when she has specifically Rage Blade and Spear of Shojin, where it causes her to like cast less or something like that. But based on the items that we got there, we couldn't really build anything else, so we were still forced to build it anyways. So a little unfortunate there. But let's roll down a little bit. Hopefully we could hit everything. There's the Riven. It took us a while to kind of find another copy of her. I want to hold on to this Echo because I may play Echo in the future. But rolling down, we almost have Jinx, and there's the Riven 3, but I don't complete it in time, so just a little bit slow. That's why there's the saying, clear your bench, clear your mind, because I took a lot of time like selling random units on my bench instead of just rolling all the way down to 0. This round specifically, I would have benefited a lot from rolling all the way down to 0, whereas maybe in other games, it's better to like what people say, like optimize your rolls, because when you buy a unit, it takes it out of the pool. It's kind of like when you're playing cards or something like that. If you draw a bunch of cards, you can't draw the same card again. You have a slightly higher chance of drawing the specific card that you want. Same concept applies to TFT here. However, in a card game, you don't need to draw a lot in a specified amount of time, which you do have to do at TFT. So it's a little bit different in that aspect. I have a pop quiz for you all right now. Would you play the Echo or the Garen here or the Kai'Sa? So I do sell the Kai'Sa because I'm not playing around my Misfortune. Kai'Sa gives quick draw and I have no items on Misfortune. So that's a big hint already. I'm going to end up playing the Garen because I have a Riven 3-star and I want to play around my Riven. If I play Echo, he does give me Prankster and he does give me Star Guardian. But do I really care about my Nyla and do I really care about my Jinx? Not too much. You know, I obviously care about them a little bit, but it's like when you say, do you care about your friends more or your family more? For me, like I care more about my family. But that's not to say if my friends need help, like of course I would help them. But if I'm in a situation where I can only help either my friend or my family, I'd probably choose family. So that's kind of like the situation here. Riven 3 is like more important than the Jinx. So I got to help out my Riven a bit more because Riven's 3-starred. Regardless though, we want to try to level up to level 8 because we could play both of them. So if I'm in a situation where I can help both of them, I'm going to do it right now. So I level up, play the, well, I'm going to roll first because I want Jinx 3. So I'm going to stay low level on purpose in order to increase the odds of finding Jinx. But since I didn't get it, I have to level up anyways, put the Echo in, and then that'll be that. These rolls are a little sad. I wish we did hit the Jinx 3. It's not even that big of an upgrade, but I just want to see if it actually does anything for my team. Again, the Vayne isn't the most powerful because the Shojin Rage Blade, they interact really oddly. I forget what the exact interaction is, but I heard about this in like a very long time ago, and I've just haven't played that item combination since hearing about it. It's not the end of the world if you build them together though, it's just not as good as it could be. This Warwick just went ham on my team. That's a little scary. So we are struggling a little bit. Obviously, like this build of Anima Squad is much worse than the standard build that we normally did, but it's worth to kind of try out and kind of see why the other build is much more preferred. So I'll probably get the Prankster crust here. 3 Prankster gives you the stun, which is very useful. You could have also just built like a 3rd Riven item, so the Protector's Vow could have been pretty good too. I rolled down a bit more just to try to hit the Jinx 3, but to no avail. We do get another copy of Garen though. That's really unlucky. Looking back at the game, it probably would have been a lot better to get a 3rd Riven item than this Prankster crest. Even though Prankster is good, if you have a 3-star unit and they don't have 3 items on them, you're doing something wrong with your life. So that's another thing to keep in mind whenever you're playing this game. Always itemize your like strongest units. It's not rocket science, but for some reason I'm not doing it here. And don't ask me why, because it's just clearly, an obvious mistake. But we do take a bunch of damage. We're at 7 life now. Is it just me, or do we keep queuing into that Kaisa player with the Syndra 2-star? I feel like we keep facing them over and over, but maybe I'm just seeing things. I really only mention it because they've been whooping our butt pretty much every single game, so it's like, why do we keep on facing them? We're against a Gnar 3-star. That's actually kind of scary. With double-handed justice, that's actually like a decent build on Gnar, and he's got the knife's edge. Fortunately, though, this Riven and like my Garen probably like were a little too tanky. Maybe the Prankster ended up helping a ton against this Gnar because he may have killed the Echo and the Garen really quickly, then got stunned, which allowed our Vayne to kind of clean up the rest of the team. And after watching the replay, I can confirm that is what happened. Gnar got perma-stunned, which is why we were able to beat that team, even though it's a bit better. Turns out if you stun their primary carry for most of the fight, you're going to do pretty well. Let's roll down. I need Echo 2-star, I need Jinx 3-star, I need Garen 2-star. There's a Garen. Can we get the Echo? We don't have Misfortune either. Holy, I didn't even realize we didn't have Misfortune. Okay, we have Misfortune now. So with this item, probably Riven item or Misfortune item, even Garen item. We could use a lot of items right now. This is when Thieves Gloves would be probably pretty good, but let's just get the Bramble for Riven. I don't know why I'm taking so long in this decision, but it's pretty clear which one to get. But we're able to put it on the Riven now, and then let's see who we're facing off against. We're getting Zephyr. That's not cool. Oh no, it hit our Vayne as well. There's like a 50-50. It goes on Jinx or Vayne there based on the positioning the Urgot's in. It's just kind of bad that it hits our Vayne because she has a Rage Blade, and we kind of want her to stack up attack speed stacks. Well, pretty self-explanatory. But are we able to win this fight still? That is very close. Wow, we're actually able to pull that one off. I don't even know how we won that fight. But after that, we are in 3rd place. Not bad at all. So let's roll down a little bit. Maybe we get this Echo 2-star. If not, it is what it is. We don't end up getting it. Let's see if we could get a second. Honestly, oh, no, not this player again. We've faced this player. Look at the win streak this person's on. They've been probably win streaking like 10 rounds in a row. But we keep facing them because they have a random Syndra 2-star. Wow. Was this the same player every time, or was there someone else also with the Syndra 2? I don't even remember, but pretty unfortunate there. Maybe we could have gone a second with better matchmaking. Probably we could have gone 2nd place if we just played regular Anima Squad instead of doing this like weird nonsense. But based on how the game went, we got like so many swords. Might as well try it. But that's kind of how reroll Anima without the augment kind of does. Let's move on into the Platinum game though. On to game number 5 though, we have the Platinum game. This game's going to be a little weird because of the augments we're going to get. And this is also going to be a game where we are forcing Anima Squad instead of kind of flexing into it. You can kind of tell that already because we have the Sylas and Nasus out there. And you probably have better units to put in instead. But yeah, like, see what I mean? We're putting in 2 Nasus and a Sylas instead of like Blitzcrank Renekton. That's going to be how you can kind of tell that I'm hard forcing versus flexing into Anima Squad. So I guess one quiz you could do for yourself is look back on all the games and try to figure out which games I have flexed into Anima Squad and which games I force Anima Squad, assuming I didn't tell you already. So here we're just going to take Makeshift Armor. I guess Phony Frontline could be useful as well. But Makeshift is decent because we have a lot of offensive items. I typically turn the belt into a guard breaker whenever I do this. And then just the tier and the rod work on like Misfortune, obviously. And we're going to keep this Vex. This Vex is a little odd. Normally you don't really play Vex, but because we have this specific setup with a 2-star Nasus, Vex ends up being pretty useful. We're also going to slam an item. We're pretty much always going to go for a glove on the carousel just to get more and more offensive items. And right now I was just scouting for Anima Squad. And the only real offensive item the belt can turn into is going to be the Guard Breaker. So there's really no other item we could want. And Archangels is also one of the best items on Misfortune because it gives her a lot of starting mana and it gives her ability power, which are both things that she really, really likes. This first fight's going a little weird. It seems like we don't have enough damage to kind of kill everything, but maybe the Archangel staff kind of fixes everything, especially if we get like one of those through or follow through casts, yeah, that the Vex did just there. So we are able to win this one, albeit taking a while. Next shot, we get another Sylas and we 2-star our Blitzcrank. I forgot if we were able to 5-streak this or not. Oh, we're facing someone with a ton of traits on their bench. That's really good news for us because that means we'll probably be able to win this and no items built on the bench. So whenever someone does that, that means they have like no power. So those are obviously really good signs for us, even though they have 2 upgraded units. So they have Blitz 2 and a Gangplank 2 with synergies up. So they realistically could have won a couple of rounds if they used the tome and maybe built an item. Like Gangplank could hold your blue buff, and then you could probably go into some sort of caster build most likely. But we're able to clean this one up. I'm making a small mistake here positioning wise, and I'll let you have an opportunity to kind of guess what it is. So do we want the Kaisa? Kaisa probably could hold the Archangels better than Vex, and she kind of transitions into the team much better, but I just fixed it right there. So the Nasus should be in the middle and Blitzcrank on the outside, because Nasus is more of a damage unit, not so much of a tank, whereas Blitzcrank is pure tank. And you want to try to put your pure tanks on the outside so that your damage dealers can live for a bit longer. Hence, like, why they're tanking. Like, look, we got a 5-unit wrap around Blitzcrank, or like a 4-unit wrap around Blitzcrank. Pretty decent stuff, and he's tanking a ton. Nasus would have died already had he been on the outside, but he's on the inside, so that's really good for us. This person leveled up, so that's really unfortunate for us because they have Three's Company. Normally you don't level up when you have that, but we might not be able to win because of that. This fight's actually really close. Actually, oh no, we might slam the belt. Okay, maybe we did not need to slam the belt, but it's all good as long as we get the guard breaker onto our Vex. So unfortunately, there are no gloves, and it's mainly defensive items. Luckily, we could get a rod and a chain, but chain doesn't really build much that we want on our team. At least not with makeshift armor. Normally it'd be fine, but this game makes it a little weird. If we wanted to turbo win streak, I guess building a locket here wouldn't be horrible. Wouldn't be my first choice, but it's definitely doable. We're facing off against a Gnar player, so Gnar with Last Whisper, Knife's Edge, that's actually really powerful. Knife's Edge is probably one of his best augments. Keep in mind, whenever you have makeshift armor, as fun as it is to just like only build offensive items, it's also okay just to build 3 tank items on your main tank. The only issue with it in Anima Squad is that our main tank is Riven, and Riven, if she's not 3-starred, kind of sucks. And you may have noticed that in the recent games where our Riven, even though she has items, sometimes she's even 3-star and she just gets shredded like paper. The final round, we're facing off a level 4 player. 2 items though, so it's not a free win by any means, but also Jeweled Lotus, pretty good augment. Not the best for win streaking, but the items and the upgrades are definitely what's scaring me a little bit more. And we're kind of on the wrong side. So if Blitzcrank was on the left side where the Lee Sin is and tanking most of the damage, we'd probably win this without me even sweating. We probably win this no matter what, just because we're higher level, but the fight was actually a bit closer than I think it could have actually been. But we're able to win streak fully into stage 2, which is exactly the start you want, except we don't have Anima stacks yet because we just weren't able to get our 3rd Anima Squad unit until now. But now we have Vayne, so that is all good. Also gonna drop this Morgana in. Morgana's just like a good early game unit, and because we don't have Magic Pen, she could be useful there. Lucky for us, we do end up getting the glove off of the Wolf Cam, and we get a bow, so we could do Guardbreaker and maybe Titans, or Guardbreaker Rageblade, or we could build a Shroud. A lot of these item combinations definitely work, but what item would you build here? Let me know down in the comments, and also be sure to like timestamp when you comment if it has a question on the game, just so I know where to reference and other players also know where to reference, because it definitely is a long video here. Oh, I need to put Silas in somehow. Okay, I level up, put Silas in. Level 6, pretty decent. Do we need to slam this item? Who are we facing off against? Sivir 2-star. Ooh, he might need, I should slam the Rageblade here, I think. Ooh, I don't like that at all. The Rod on the Vex. Okay, I'm looking back at what I did. Not a big fan. I think just Rageblade, call it a day and move on, because I'm going to have a lot of items anyways. So you might as well just itemize Vayne, even though Vayne isn't like the main carry of the Anima Squad comp. Luckily, we're still able to win. So in that case, or in that aspect, it's still decent, but I would have really preferred the Rageblade on the Vayne, and I think I definitely regretted that. Okay, so here's where the game gets a little weird. I'd end up taking Ancient Archives, and in all honesty, all of those options for augments suck, because with makeshift armor, you don't really want Electrocute, because Electrocharge is good if you have strong tanks, and we just won't have strong tanks because they don't have any items. Then the other one, which was Stand United, doesn't really work well in an Anima Squad comp because we're mainly going vertical anima. And then here we get a little bit trolled. We get one good spatula item or emblem item. We get the Anima Squad augment, and that's going to be really good, obviously. But then the next option, we could choose between either Duelist or Defender. And both of them are just like equally mediocre. They're not bad. They're not going to lose me the game, but they're definitely not going to win me the game either. But which one would you have picked there? I picked Duelist. Maybe we could go for some Vayne build. It makes it so we don't have to run Nyla in a lot of cases, so we could run either Echo and Kaisa for Prankster and Quick Draw. So that could round out our team to complement the anima units as we normally have done. And then the duelist emblem still gives our Vayne a little bit of power. However, like, I don't really want this duelist emblem on anyone. I guess I should say it's not that I don't want it on anyone, it's just that no one really uses it that well. We have both this Echo and this Garen on our bench. I do want to play them. We're running 5 Anima right now. Man, am I just cursed with playing 5 Anima by accident like so many games in a row? We probably should have played the Echo. Oh, we don't have Prankster or Defender. Never mind. Well, what do you actually play here? Is it the Lee Sin over the Vayne? I don't think Vayne 1's doing much, even though we have Duelist Spatula. And I don't think it's going to change that much. Whereas Lee, he's a bit tankier. He kind of helps out our Blitzcrank a little bit, who's a 2-star. Maybe that would have been a little bit better. But, wow, I never went this long without a Jinx. So right off the get-go, we can tell that our Anima squad, it's not really a squad yet, unless we get this misfortune with a tier. It's like when you're playing Valorant, like 2 of your friends are like gold, and then like there's one person who's, you know, like bronze or something like that, and then like you still play with them because you're still friends with them. But do you call that a squad? Whereas other times you have like one of your friends who's like a little bit higher rank, and then he joins your game, and then you're like, oh, that is a squad. But we get this misfortune. We're gonna drop pretty much everything on her. Guardbreaker, double Archangels, really underrated build is double Archangels on Misfortune, plus another damage item. Normally it would be something like a Giant Slayer, but Guardbreaker kind of does the same thing. And here's what I'm kind of thinking, maybe I should just build a Titan's Resolve on someone. Like on Vayne, it's not that bad. I could even put it on Kai'Sa, because anyone who attacks fast can kind of use it from the backline. Obviously there are better things to put on them, but it's not like horrible, you know? Oh, our front line is needing a lot of help though. I don't know if you all saw, but our front line got completely melted. I also make a mistake here. I forget to level up to level 7. I have no idea why. I have units to put in. I have the Blitzcrank, Garen, or the Echo, so I have like 3 different options to put in. But I just forget to level up to level 7, and it costs me this round, which costs us our streak, which is really stupid, because I'm going to end up selling this Garen, level up to level 7 anyways, and then drop this Echo in. So it's like, that was kind of like an asleep at the wheel type of play. Honestly, that little change or that little difference may have cost us like 1 or 2 placements this game, because that's a lot of gold we missed out on, and we have lower life because of it. And it's all pretty much for no reason, because we could have leveled up and stayed above 50 gold. So there's, even if you go down to 40 or 30 gold, you should still level up there, even if you're not streaking. So just like complete brain fart from my end, I'll admit that. But we have a tier here, so we could build a static Shiv. That'd be probably very welcome. Then we don't have to run Morgana anymore. And we probably just want to level up to level 8, maybe in the next turn. Unless we could do it now. No, we could probably hold off now. If we were win streaking, we'd level up now, but we're not. But I sell the Morgana, I put in the Alistair, and then I just put all the 3 items, Static Shiv, Duelist, and Anima onto the Kai'Sa. I feel like she's a pretty good holder for it. She'll get off a lot of attacks, and if you buff someone up with attack speed, then Static Shiv is like pretty decent on them, but this Gnar absolutely runs through our team because we have no tanks right now. No Prankster and no Riven. We actually need it like pretty badly. All right, so get a Misfortune one here. It's a 4-4-3, so very high chance to get Misfortune, unlike that other time where we also had a high chance, but this one we could be greedy on for sure, and we'll like pretty much always get it. There we go, Bunny Mercenary, just like my name. Click on that, and then now is when you level up and roll down all the way to 0 to hit everything 2-star. Oh, Riven. Who are we missing? We're missing Jinx. How do we not have Jinx? That's actually so criminal. Right, I remember in my notes I have this one is Anima Gold, or sorry, Anima Platinum, and then I won't spoil the placement, but it has a placement there, and I say weird, and then I skip over a Jinx. Holy cow! I am okay. That's my fault. I skipped over a Jinx. We do get Riven 2 because of it though, and then do we put it in time? We do. All right, so we missed out on 7 Anima, but we could just put it in later. It's not really the end of the world compared to the other mistakes, like not leveling up the other time. Because when you have to roll down 50 gold, you're bound to miss something unless you're like superhuman or something like that, or just like super paying attention. But we're facing someone with Sivir 2-star. Oh, it's a Sivir 2 from before, but they have Warwick augment. I wonder what happened there. I don't really know of many comps that use both Warwick and Sivir, but I guess we are here. The person's name is... Okay, I don't know where people are getting their names from, but like, am I allowed to post this video on YouTube with that name there? It's just very odd to me. I guess my name's kind of weird too, so I can't judge too much. Also, where's our Misfortune? We have the Misfortune in the orb, and we have one on our bench, but we need Okay, there we go. Complain and you shall receive. Probably sell the Ezreal. And then boom, there we go. Drop the Echo back in. We don't have Prankster yet because of my mistake before. But our team's looking pretty nice because this Misfortune with 3 items should be able to clean up a lot of fights. Kaisa also has 3 items. And all we really need is like one more 2-star tank, and then I think we're good to go. What's really going to be devastating is the second Misfortune ult, not so much the first one, because she gets her first cast off pretty quickly, which is kind of counterintuitive, but that's just how Archangels works. Oh no, we're on the... That's a really tough angle to kind of fit in, so we actually lose this fight. But I have commented on this before, and it's like, why does Archangels give a lot of starting mana when the whole point of Archangels is to go for a long fight? And I brought it up before, didn't really hear much about it, but maybe other players kind of share the same opinion. But what do we want here? Maybe an item for our Fiddlestick. So we want maybe an anti-heal item, maybe something with a belt. We could get the Tear and the Rod also. That'd be perfectly fine. And it's on a 5 cost, so that gives us a lot of gold. The only kind of bad thing about it is that we can't really build any item with it right now. But there's our 7 Anima. Do we even want to run 7? Maybe we just run 5 at this point. The whole point of doing this build was so that we could get a lot of HP on our frontline Anima Squad units so that we could get a lot of stacks with Anima Squad, and then that gives a lot of effective HP with the makeshift armor. The only weird part is that I don't think we have that many stacks this game because we didn't start stacking really early on. And then we did also lose some fights, so I don't know how many units we ended up killing. Luckily, our team is still pretty healthy. We're at 74 life, which is first in the lobby. But we definitely could have done like a lot of things different. Oh no, Nara's jumping into our face. Maybe Misfortune with the Bunny Mercenary Shield can kind of tank this. She actually does, holy cow. So that positioning is actually really good for us then. That's kind of lucky on our part. Kind of unlucky on theirs. But we get a pretty big win here because, oh wow, that Misfortune really just... That's the difference between Bunny Mercenary and maybe the other one. It's not that Make It Rain is bad, it's just that Bunny Mercenary is just so good. Which is pretty much why I was so greedy for it the other time, because so many defensive items. Come on, Riot Games, like why do you give me so many defensive items when I have makeshift armor? Oh, there's Urgot. So our team is actually pretty solid. We just need to kind of take out Silas and Nasus for some other stuff. Okay, Morello for sure. Maybe I probably should have just built one main tank on Riven. Is it like Edge of Night? Is it Spear Shojin? Maybe Titans on Fiddle, yeah. And then Ice Cream Cup. Ice Cream Cone on maybe the Jinx, and then I think that should be... Yeah, that's not bad. Probably could have done a little bit better. I'm trying to think of the other item combos, but this is definitely more than doable. Like, it's not going to be the reason why we lose the game. Oh, this Nar's in a really good spot because, 1, we got shrouded from the Gadgettine Shroud, and 2, the Nar's not going to get hit by our Misfortune, and she doesn't have lifesteal, so she ends up dying there. I think the Gnar, are we able to kill it? We did put the anti-heal on him from the Fiddle, but he might just overheal. Depends if Fiddle gets a second cast off, maybe? Okay, nice. We do end up winning this round. Okay, that was really close. I thought with the doubles knife's edge, this Gnar would actually go a little more ham than he did in this fight. I think it's just wait till level 9, though. There's not really too much to do right now. If we look on the right-hand side, 2 players have been knocked out already, so we get a guaranteed at least 6. And because of our life total, it's probably already a top 4 right now, which is good. That is a very powerful Aurelion Soul, especially with the Jeweled Lotus. Wow, with 1 healing item and a Quicksilver, he's able to do so much damage. Aurelion Soul is just really strong on this patch. We saw the Aurelion do a lot of damage in one of our previous games, and he just keeps showing up right now. I think we could level up to level 9 next turn. We'll have to see. We could also wait till stage 6. So if you want to be a little more greedy, play for first place, then you wait until stage 6 to level up. But if you want to play more for the immediate term, then you definitely level up next turn because we just want to get that extra unit in, whether it be an Echo, whether it be a Garen, maybe an Urgot. Any of those would do just fine. We actually lose this fight. We need better tanks right now. Our front line's just dying. We need Misfortune to cast twice. She's casting like 1.5 times right now. So if we could fit in like a second Fiddlesticks or an Echo, that'd be perfect. Let's see. On this carousel, maybe the Hextech Gunblade or the Hand of Justice for our Fiddlesticks would work. Probably Gunblade would have been better. I don't know why I took the Hand of Justice. And here I decided to go for level 9. Probably because we're still in first place. If we lose the next 2 rounds, we'll be at like 20 life in like a worst case scenario. Maybe like 30. Yeah, probably like 20, 25 life. But if we win even just one of these rounds, then it'll be worth it. And it's looking like a win here, even though the Gnar 3 is very powerful. I'm actually not sure how we beat that. Not really much in this shop here, though. And now we face off against a Mordekaiser 2. I don't know how this player got a Mordekaiser 2 without the like legendary augment. I guess from level up, that definitely helps out a bit. But holy cow, that is a very powerful team, especially with the Laser Core, I believe it's called. Oh, and it's so close to getting that second cast on. Our misfortune really is just casting like 1.5 times each fight. It's honestly like such a small margin. But here we level up. What do we want here? I guess we wanted the Jeweled Gauntlet or Ionic Spark on our Fiddlesticks, but we could start building up someone else. Maybe like Quicksilver kind of fits on everyone, but we want to just buy something, level up, and then put it on that unit. Am I actually... Oh, I'm so greedy. I'm going to wait one more round to level up. All right, I don't know about this. I'm trolling at this point. This is one of those scenarios where just because you see me doing something on an account that I don't care about doesn't mean you should be doing it in your game, because this is like textbook super, super greedy for like no reason, you know? Like you save like 2 gold by doing this, but... or maybe like 4 gold. But in the late game, gold really doesn't matter. And we would have won like... not won, but we would have done a lot better this fight. We took a lot of damage there. We went from 44 to 29, and we went from first place to third place after that. So what am I doing? See, I was AFK for the first like 10 seconds. I need a roll right now. All right, let's do the roll down. Fiddlesticks, Urgot. Hopefully we could get both of them to 2-star. At least Echo 2. Janna could be useful. Aatrox 2. I probably should have picked up the Aatrox. Garen, sell the Leonas. I actually don't end up getting anything. Uh-oh. Fiddle. Oh, no. See, if I did not waste that first like 5-10 seconds at the start, we would have had a Fiddle 2 with 3 items. That's a lot that we miss out on here. And that Mordekaiser is looking really mean right now. This is the ghost board, so maybe we have a better chance again. Oh, Janna, come on. Oh, see what I mean? Misfortune's so close from casting again. That's literally like a Fiddlesticks difference right there. All right, it's okay. Do we roll down more? I'm surprised we didn't hit Echo 2 or anything, and we still have a Jinx 1. We only... Okay, I guess it's Leona 2 for now. Is this Leona even good? I guess against this player it is, because it could help kill the Blitzcrank. I'm using a legendary unit to kill a 1-cost unit. But the Blitz is like super tanky, so... Leona actually did a little bit of work there. We did swap sides. Do we still lose to this player? Holy cow. Well, I guess we get third place. Okay, so lots of mistakes this game. If we played better, we easily could have gone second. Maybe not first place, because our augments were kind of iffy, but that is going to be the platinum game. Let's move on into the final one. So this game is a user-submitted game. So someone in my Discord, I was asking for diamond games, and it was a first-come, first-served basis. So to the victor goes the spoil. So we're going to review this person's game, and this is going to be the diamond game. So if you want to get your games reviewed, probably in the next set, because I probably won't make any more of these this set, definitely head on over to the Discord. The link is in the description below, or it's on my website. It's pretty easy to find if you are looking for it. But I will probably be doing a very similar series in the next set, so definitely... if you want to get featured, you got to be there when I ask for them. So starting out with 2 Luxes and a Draven, probably could buy the Gangplanks. I kind of favor the Gangplanks more in the early game over the Luxes, but that kind of depends on your playstyle. Let's see what happens in these creep rounds right here. You always want to make sure you can have the ability to sell everything on your bench if you get to 10 gold. Not that you always do it if it happens, but it's just something to always keep in mind. And we get a tier, so we'll pick up the Gangplanks. It's kind of good patience, actually, to not buy them right away. So for sure, pick up this Annie. We probably have a pretty good like Spellslinger start. And probably the Lucian pair. So maybe we sell the Draven, buy the 2 Lucians, depending on what drops here. So a Negatron cloak drops. Okay, we have 5, 6, 7 gold on our bench. This is not the start you want. Oh no, I was just about to say, we do not have many Anima Squad units, so I don't know why this was going to be an Anima Squad game that would be submitted. So there is a scouting going on. That's good. It's always good to scout. I think there's like maybe one other player potentially that could be playing Anima. Oh, that's a 2-star jinx. That person's for sure. Okay. This is mistake number 1. Portable Forge and Phony Frontline are definitely the options to take here. You could probably Forge is the best, and then you kind of build the Hand of Justice on whoever your damage dealer is, and then you go from there. But taking this Anima Squad augment, if you go to the augment guide, I always say only do like these trait augments if you have at least like X amount of these units. And for Anima Squad, that's generally going to be around 4 or 5 units. And we had 1 unit, we had the Vayne. So we're definitely going to be behind in this game. Even though Vayne's kind of like cool or whatever, it's you really want more. And especially since it did look like someone else was contesting us because they got true 2s and got a Jinx 2 randomly. And they also had a Vayne on their board. You probably don't want to contest this comp with this start at least. So sometimes players make the mistake of having a really good start for a certain team composition and then pivoting out of it because they see that they're contested. So normally if you have a great start for something, you just stick with it. Who cares what other people have? But in this game, it's kind of the opposite. We didn't have the best Anima Squad start, and then someone else was going Anima, and then we went for it anyways. So even though it's good that you are scouting, you didn't really use the info that you got from scouting. So you might as well just not scout, if you know what I mean. It's not the end of the world though. We could still do well this game. It's just going to have to take a little bit of like extra umph from maybe like the items. Maybe we get like perfect items from Carousel or something like that, or from the Wolf Camp, or we just get like a really early misfortune. But I don't like dwell too much on the mistake. It's not like the end of the world by any means. And if you are an Anima only player, you definitely could get away by playing like this, but you have to make sure you really know the comp before you kind of do something like that. Another thing is that the items were kind of bad. Whenever you play Anima Squad, you want to win streak. If you notice in all of our previous games, we pretty much win streaked a lot of those games. And yes, some of it is due to like playing against lower level players. But another part of it is just because with Anima Squad, it's really important to win streak. And we don't have an item built. So we could have built the Hand of Justice. I know it's not the best item in the world, but sometimes the win streaking is a little more important for all the stacking and things like that. And I'm not saying you always have to build the Hand of Justice, but if you're playing for Anima, I probably would. But if you're playing for other comps, then you could probably pass on it. We get a Rod here, so that's really good. Archangels or Jeweled Gauntlet. I bet they're going to build Jeweled Gauntlet. That seems to be the more popular item nowadays. I think you could even build an Ionic Spark. There are a lot of different options here, but probably Jeweled Gauntlet is the most straightforward to do. I guess if you're an Anima only player, starting with a Rod might not be a bad idea because tier's a bit more contested. And then you need so many rods anyways. You could build Ionic Spark, you could build Jeweled Gauntlet, Archangels, Hat, like literally all the rod items are good. Pretty much everything except for like Locket or something like that. But everything else is like more than usable. And we are getting some good kills here, so we do get some stacks from the Lux, but we do end up losing this round, which is making me a little bit concerned because we're playing like lose streak Anima right now, but we're not on a full lose streak either. At least there are 5 of them out there. So we scout, and then we see the other Anima player has Vayne 2, Jinx 2. How did people get that? Like a Vayne 2 out of nowhere. I guess we had that in one of our other games, but yeah, this start is looking a little sketch. If you compare it to our previous game, though, we did not get 5 Anima till much later, so it's not the end of the world yet. Maybe we have to, if we win this round, we could sell the Vi to make 20 gold, and that'd be pretty helpful. Oh, I know how they got the Vayne 2. They probably used the baby Nico on her, which definitely is worth it. So unfortunately, we lose the streak, but on the bright side, we are able to kind of get a couple of stacks back. From the golems, we get a bow, we get a bunch of gold, probably sell those. And lastly, another glove. These items are a little iffy. What do you even build here? You could go maybe for... Quicksilver isn't horrible. It's not my first choice, but it's not horrible because if you have the Jeweled Gauntlet, Quicksilver gives a lot of critical strike chance. But I'd probably just chill with this team here. Also, I don't know why we're collecting Silas's. Not that it's costed any gold or anything, but I probably don't really care too much about that unit. So don't let it confuse you sometimes because I guess I should say it's good to hold on to them, but if you're watching this game, just make sure you know that you don't need to play the Silas because like holding or losing gold for Silas 3 is definitely not something you want to do. I think we actually do end up winning this round. And then let's see what augment we get next, because I did not like the first augment choice, and augments are a big part of the game right now. So it's really important that we make at least the second best choice here. So scope weapons, second wind, and makeshift. So we've talked about second wind before. Second wind is not that great in Anima Squad because we run a lot of small tanks. So whenever you do that, your units don't really get a lot of value from second wind. We could do another makeshift game. We have a pretty similar start to before where we have like a lot of damage items. So makeshift, actually, I'd probably go for that or reroll the augment. So we end up going for a reroll. Makeshift would have been better than these, which is kind of unfortunate, but here it's exiles. Whoa. Okay, it's for sure exiles because Anima Squad gives bonus health, and exiles is based on the amount of health that you have. So you get a bigger shield if you have more health. And if you compare that to second wind, your units die before second wind's procs. But with exiles, you always get exiles. So it's just a lot better than Ludens because you don't really cast that much. We don't even have a mana item. If we had Spear of Shojin, then like there's a small chance that Ludens is better. I still don't think it is, but we don't even have the Spear of Shojin, so we can't even get like quick cast off unless you're planning to like pivot out of this build. So I definitely would not have went for those augment choices. If it was a different meta and Ludens Echo was really, really OP, then I could see a world where you pick Ludens, but it is not that meta right now. So we're going into the team builder. Let's see what you're planning up in the future or what you're cooking. Hacker with Warwick? Okay, I don't know what's cooking here, but I'm not the biggest fan. So we do fit the Anima Squad in there, but yeah, I just gotta say I'm not the biggest fan of that team. Hopefully you don't try to do that. Hopefully you just go 5 or 7 Anima, as we've been doing. These items are a little weird though because we have 4 unbuilt items. I probably would have built something, either the Static Shiv or the Quicksilver, maybe even both of them. Maybe even like an ice cream cone because we are running a little low on health right now. So we cannot forget about my rule where if you have 4 item components, build an item, because if you're below, let's say like Master, even like Grandmaster, it's something that you should pretty much always do. We take a Negatron Cloak here. Interesting. I would have taken maybe the Rod for Ionic Spark, the Rod for maybe Archangels, or like even a Rage Blade wouldn't be horrible. I guess this cloak can build a Dragon Claw. Dragon Claw's fine. It's not like a high priority item in Anima Squad, but it's definitely usable. If we had a 2-star Riven, maybe I'd consider it a bit more, but I for sure would have went for like Ionic Spark here. It's good that you are scouting, so he's clicking on all the swords on the right-hand side, and those swords mean you face those players in the next round. So always do that. It's good that you are doing that. I need to do that more often, even if I'm like not taking the game super seriously, but I should be doing that. Jinx over Nasus for sure. Ooh, 2-star Twist of Fate. So if we had time, we would have sold the Lux, but we didn't have time, so it's okay that you missed it. And then I probably would have built the Static Shiv on Twist of Fate as well. You're not holding the Anima Twist of Fate for the whole game, but you just use it as like an item holder, which I think is what's happening here. So I guess we get an Annie and use that as like our second Spell Slinger because it's still a decent trait. And then when we have Duelist from the Vein. So we might be cooking up something very interesting for this mid game. Is it the best thing in the world? Is it my first choice? Probably not, but we probably could still place pretty decently with this. So yeah, this Lux needs to be gone right now because we have a 2-star Twist of Fate that's just chilling there. Oh no, we didn't do the swap. So if you do swap, I'd put in a Morgana. Morgana's just a solid unit, threat unit, gives a bunch of like magic shredding. So that probably would have been the way to go. But Twist of Fate, you have him 2-star, just build the Static Shiv Jeweled Gauntlet, and it's really good enough, you know? You could play it for like probably until stage 5. So I'd say that's like the 2 major mistakes right now is not swapping the items over. And then the first one was going Anima Squad in the first place. So if you do want to climb, and this goes for everyone, not just the player that we're reviewing right now, you should probably have the augment guide up, the early game augment guide at bunnymuffins.lol/augments. Because I pretty much go over what the data says, but I also input like when you should actually go for those augments, which is a lot because if you just look at the data, like we saw in our previous 3-hour video, the player we reviewed in Diamond pretty much only picked augments based on the data. And despite that, that player did not pick any good augments. And you can't be over reliant on data because it's just like not that useful. I don't know what else to say. Oh no, we're selling our Anima Squad units? No, you got to keep them for 7 Anima. Okay, drop the Echo in, I hope. Drop the Vayne in. Okay, he meant to drop the Echo in, so I'm not going to harp on that. But let's put the Anima Squad on the Twisted Fate, build the Static Shiv. Okay, see, that's what I mean. We built the Static Shiv anyways, so we should have just had it the whole time. Definitely Jeweled Gauntlet on the Twisted Fate. I know he's probably saving it for the Misfortune, but we have 2 Jeweled Gauntlets, so you could build one on Twisted Fate, one on Misfortune, so you're not really missing out on anything. I don't really like that at all. We are running dangerously low on health right now, too. 38, it's not that dangerous, but definitely is something to kind of like set the alarm bells off. Like maybe we should roll in the next round. And I like that this player did roll a lot before, but let's roll down these augments because we probably want like Fiddlesticks, Urgot, Misfortune. Shiny is probably good enough here. You could build like Edge of Night. Oh no. Ooh, if I wanted to do Misfortune, it would be Bunny Mercenary, not so much the Make It Rain, because we don't really need gold that badly. We need to... Oh, we need to take out this Nasus, probably. Probably second Echo for Nasus, or Kaisa for Nasus. Let's see if this player does that. We probably do need to roll still, because if you look at our team right now... Oh, we sold Riven. Okay, this isn't that bad, honestly. If we don't have a 2-star front line, so it's just like really sketch right now. We sold the Riven. Okay, I don't know about that one. Yeah, for sure, Jeweled Gauntlet on the Twisted Fate, or just like Edge of Night Twisted Fate, if anything, or like Edge of Night Misfortune. You just have to build items. We have too many unbuilt components right now. And if we were 100 life, you could kind of get away with it with greeting it. But since we're low, we don't really have that luxury. Also, Misfortune should be in the corner because then she hopefully hits more units. And then Twisted Fate could kind of be on the side because he doesn't really depend on positioning that much because he's single target. So take a loss there. That's an item diff, by the way, because we have items on our bench and any item built would have won that round. Another thing to consider is when we sold the Riven, we have this baby Nico on our bench, and that's probably only going to be used on Riven. So, yeah, we probably should have just kept the Riven and then used it on him. Fiddlesticks, very nice. Definitely put that in over the Echo. Okay, Kaisa with the Static Shiv. That's not too bad. But what are these other items going to turn into? That's what I'm really curious about right now because we're level 7, no gold. So we're not really playing for the late game. So we need to slam the items for the now. So I know in the previous games, I may have held on to items a lot, but in those games, I was playing for like first places. I was like greeting my gold and I was reaching level 9 and I was really playing for the late game. But in this game, when we have low life, you really have to recognize when that happens and then try to play for it. So the ways to play for it, to play for the now, is by building items, taking augments that give you immediate power. For example, on stage 4-2, we took a gold augment. So the Misfortune augment gives us gold. That doesn't really help us that much, right? So we definitely would have wanted either the Fiddlesticks one, or an Urgot one, or having the Bunny Mercenary one, because we still had rerolls left. You could argue that Shiny is also a gold augment, but the thing about Shiny is that it gives you an Urgot. And Urgot is one of the best users of Anima Squad emblem. So we get the Riven, we sell it anyways, or like we sold the old one, but we play it still. And we finally do have the 7 Anima, so maybe there is hope after all. And then this player's gonna keep rolling a little bit. Yeah, I guess we're 1 off Echo 2, 1 off Riven 2. Yeah, the rolls are probably worth it because we're about to die. Unfortunate that nothing gets hit, but we need to use these items. All right, what's happening here? Again, items like Edge of Night, Misfortune, it's like, it is what it is. It's not perfect, but... Or just Shroud. We could have Shrouded instead of the Infinity Edge. Yeah, it's for sure Shroud, actually. And just put it on a random support unit. Not that IE Fiddle is bad, it's just... Shroud is just a bit better, because is Fiddle going to carry? It's mainly our Misfortune that's doing the most, right? So we kind of need to play around her. We win this round, though, surely, right? Okay, thank God. Actually, Fiddle kind of did a lot. Holy cow. So just looking at our gold, we have to see if and when we could hit level 8. So we do get Make It Rain. That does help a little bit. So we are like 46 gold off, and we have 26 right now, so we could probably level up next round. Not next round, but like after the neutral round. We're facing off against an Urgot. That's the attack speed one. I don't really like that one that much. I feel like Shiny is so much better. But if Misfortune gets 2 casts here, we should be able to win. But it's not looking like it. Maybe 1 cast is enough. The front line's just really weak right now. Yeah, I don't like how this game played out because we greeded our items to get perfect Misfortune items, and then we didn't get them. So it's kind of like not playing towards anything, and we got like the worst of both worlds, which it sucks. And like, obviously, was it unlucky that we didn't get like a Spirit Shojin somewhere? Like, of course it is. But we could have fixed a lot of our issues by either playing the Twist of Fate as our main carry in stage 4 and then saving our gold to go level 8. We could have not prioritized the tank item in Dragon Claw so much and built offensive items instead. So there are a lot of different things we could have done that would have made the itemization a lot better. We could also just build the Hand of Justice early on and try to like streak or something like that. Or just kind of like not even go Anima Squad, because we started the game with a Tear, a Glove, and a Negatron. And granted, all those items are good for Anima Squad, but the thing is they need a lot of rods. We needed 2 rods with that build. So we need 3 specific items, 2 rods and a sword to get Spirit Shojin, Ionic Spark, and Jeweled Gauntlet. And that is asking for a lot, you know? So maybe you just go for a different comp or just slam suboptimal items and still play the same comp. I wonder what the placement ends up being this game. I'm actually surprised we're losing every round. Well, not every round, but a lot of rounds, because the team isn't like that bad or anything. We still have Misfortune 2. She's got decent items. Now we have an Echo 2. It is a bit strange that we're still losing every round. And yeah, you have to duplicate the Riven because there's nothing else to duplicate. I guess we sold the Vayne, so I guess it could be the Vayne. But yeah, just do the Riven because we're at 2 life. But let's not be too harsh on this player because it obviously, you have to put yourself out there to get yourself in the replay. And I will be harsh because that's the best way for like players to improve. So don't be like afraid to share a replay either. And you could always send like, their big respect to this player because he sent a game where he got 8th in and not one where he went 1st in, where people can't really learn that much. So big respect to that. Thanks so much for the replay. Biggest mistake was going for Anima Squad in the first place. And then after that, there were some other like gameplay mistakes, but I say like the biggest one is probably just picking that augment when the other 2 were like pretty good. And always keep in mind, like everyone's going to make gameplay mistakes. I make gameplay mistakes. You make gameplay mistakes. Like even the world champion makes gameplay mistakes, and it's just bound to happen. We just try to reduce it as much as we can. But now it is time for the BunnyMuffins tip of the day, and the tip of the day with Anima Squad is, well, before we get into that, Anima Squad is getting buffed in the recent patch coming up, so that's definitely more than welcome. That means all the games that you saw today are going to be even easier when you end up playing it in the next couple of days or next couple of weeks. But for the tip today, if you look into the data for Anima Squad, you'll notice that Anima Squad does much better at lower ratings than it does at high ratings. That doesn't mean that like challengers aren't playing Anima Squad. Challengers definitely do play Anima Squad, but just keep in mind the lower rating you are, it's like kind of like a secret comp you could use, because when people look at data, they look at like Diamond Plus data typically, but they're not looking at like gold data, they're not looking at silver data. And in those elos, like Anima Squad does like much better comparatively or relatively compared to everything else. So that's one thing to kind of keep in mind whenever you play this. The higher up you go, the worse and worse it gets, but it's still decent at like the highest level of play. So do keep that in mind. Also, it's not like you're playing like a noob comp or something like that. It's just so happens that the data kind of works that way. But that's going to be it for me today. Hopefully you all enjoyed this video. And again, leave timestamps if you do ask a question. I'll try to get to all of them. And I am definitely excited for the new set, and let me know how your climb goes for the rest of the set. And if you want to be featured in some of these compilations later on, definitely join the Discord, links in the description below. And if you manage to watch all the way till this point, just leave a comment below saying Bunny Girl Misfortune, just so that I know who watched the whole thing.